that to understand it, right? I don't understand it, therefore I will mold it to me.
Yeah, but it's like a missionary going to some South Sea island and saying, you can't be naked anymore, you gotta put on these clothes.
Yeah.
Which is what happened, you know, in my hometown of Hawaii.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like,
The reason I bring it up is because the more, and you talk about delving in, the more I delve into the play, this is a play about kings. That's a very important element in this play. That doesn't say it's not a play also, though, about a father and about daughters and about another level by which it works. But once you take away the king and you make him a CEO, or you make him a president, or you make him some official that is not anointed by God, that hasn't been put in that position because he's chosen, you have a whole different story going. My feeling is write another story then. That's been done in West Side Story, wonderful.
He's Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, that's right. So, but the more of the thing that I want to bring up today as we move forward is the thing I've become recently obsessed with, and maybe it's late in my life to be obsessed with it, but it's the use of thee and thou and you, and how they're very, very specific in the way Shakespeare uses them. You know, we use thee and thou to almost mock that period. Oh, thou art the, and we make jokes about it. When you're looking at it in a text, thou takes on a very important meaning, and you will see a character change from the use of thee and thou to you, or from you to thee and thou. And that's indicative of rank, that's indicative of the emotional impact of the moment. So there's clues for the actor as to what's just happened by the simple use of you, thee, and thou. But if you get rid of that idea of kingship or lordship, or it's tied directly to that use of language. I don't think you've heard a lot of CEOs say, "Where hast thou been?" It doesn't fit. In, you know, you dress him one way, and yet out of his mouth comes something that's totally archaic. But when you put it in the mouths of kings, it starts to make the sense we're so fearful of not getting. That's the part where I think we're missing out on here. That somehow our audiences simply can't get it unless it's dumbed down in some way. I say dumb. Somebody else would say what?
making it relevant.
Making it relevant. Okay.
Excessive.
But what I've found, and again, I go back to the early years of APT because that was our playground, that was our test area. And I will tell you that we didn't update, we didn't cut, and the audience walked away feeling really good about themselves, like my dad, that I got it. How is it possible? 4th grade education, my dad. That's it, you know? Blue-collar worker, my dad. Here he is in Queens, New York. If you talk to me, the funniest thing I ever experienced was having Randy's mom talk to my dad, and he would say, Turkey, and she would laugh and say Turkey, and it was like, wait, we're both not speaking English. But that kind of joy that he experienced by watching something like King Lear. It's not Midsummer Night's Dream he was watching, it was King Lear. And to see audiences thrilled to that and feel smarter and feel good about themselves because, you know what, I'm not so stupid. I do get it. Wow, we've changed the face of our nation. Not just the face of you know, the play, but our very nation, that yes, you're smart, and you can get it. Now go for it. But once you start saying to them, you're too stupid, they wear that coat. And that's the coat they're going to go through in life. I'm just too stupid.
I have a question about thee and thou and you.
Yes?
Is thee and thou a little more intimate, personal with a specific person? And if it changes to you, it's almost like this little barrier goes up.
It's almost the opposite.
Ah, okay.
Which is interesting. is that and Randy and I were wrestling.
You said it right. That it is more, the and thou is more intimate.
Or more
Oh, I think you're
familiar.
saying that you was.
No.
Say it
No,
again,
no,
Randy.
the and thou is a little more close, personal, intimate.
As
And if
familiar.
it changes
Yeah, I'm sorry.
to you, it's
Yeah.
almost like this little barrier goes up
Yep.
and it's,
Yes,
Also, may add to that thee and thou, is that there's usually great emotional intensity.
Right.
Besides recognition of class or that kind of thing. Like Romeo and Juliet, the balcony scene, the thee and thou all the time.
yeah.
Because they're trying to bridge that space that they have to deal with. They
Yeah.
want to be intimate, they want to touch each other. But this space, I mean, she's up there, he's down here, you know?
Mhm.
But so
But love
they,
is the language.
yeah.
and it's often used, the language of love is the
Yes,
thee and thou.
or-
It's poetic.
Thee and thou used in more aggressive scenes.
Mhm.
Well, that's right. Kent said, "Thou dost evil,"
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
which just landed like a ton of bricks on when.
Yes.
That's right.
Oh my
And
God.
it
That's right.
gets Lear.
That's right. And you'll see another example of it I was reading about would be in Merchant of Venice, when Shylock is talking to Antonio and they're trying to make a deal.
Mhm.
And in the deal part of it, they use you. And so the conversation goes on that you, and then all of a sudden Shylock goes into his speech of Signor Antonio many a time and oft on the
Rialto.
you have slandered me. I forget all the words, but it was you. Antonio gets pissed off. He changes to thou. And I shall call thee that again and spit on thee again. He switches from the you
Mhm.
to the thee and thou. And this happens, you'll see it happen with Lear and Cordelia in that first scene, where he will say, what can you say to get a portion, right? And then when she says nothing, and he goes into his rage, he turns it to thee and thou. So it's important for, not so much to be, crazy about, oh, thee, thou, that kind of thing, but to understand right there and then for an actor, it signals where the emotion can change, or where the feeling that the characters experience can change. And it helps you, rather than everything is big and loud and emotional.
Right.
You know, why does it change? What's just happened between those two characters? It's another little clue to all of that. What were you going to say, I'm sorry?
Nothing will come of nothing.
No, if you don't get in there, you're in trouble.
Okay.
So the other thing that I'm also interested in and have been interested in is when we talk about scansion. Scansion has become kind of the bogeyman to American actors because we think it's just ta-tum, and it's just too stiff, and it's too... What I've found, though, about scansion is that there's something incredibly active about it, that we're not using it to our benefit. And so what happens is that a lot of times we try to turn scansion into prose because we feel it's not natural, and I want my
Excuse me, I've never heard that term before. Could you explain scansion?
Yes. When you'll see on, you know what, you need a script, don't you? Would you both like to have it?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I got mine from Amazon, but I don't use hand on.
I know, I-
It hasn't shown up.
I will
I was going to say, all these scripts I've either gotten from Amazon or from them. One or the other.
I want to return it, that's it.
If you look on that, even the first scene, right? I'll just show you. Everybody can just pull it out. You notice how the line goes straight through. I thought the king had more affected the Duke of Albany than Cornwall, right? There's the same thing on the next line. It did always seem so to us, but now in the division of the kingdom, it appears not. There's no stops there. It's
Okay.
straight through. It's and that would be prose, okay?
Yes.
Now, if you turn to the section where Lear comes in, you see that it's presented in verse. Now, you see how the way the lines work. You get
Yes.
capitals at the beginning of each line now,
Yes, yes.
right? Okay, so each one of those lines has 10 beats. The second, fourth, sixth, eighth, 10th is the usual stress.
Okay.
All right? Meantime, we shall express our darker purpose. Now that's where people have stopped, I find. It's like, oh no, that's just too stiff, it's not. But it works in conjunction with the circumstance and the sense of the word that you're speaking and the emotion that you're feeling. But what it does is it puts sense into the line and it tells you where the emphasis should be for the character. You will also find through the course of it, and listen, I'm by no means an expert. Only reason I even jumped in was I had an actress who was studying with me in New York, and she said, oh, Annie, can you take me through the scansion? They want me to know the scansion. She's playing Cleopatra. They want me to know the scansion of it. And I, feeling like, oh my God, she's paying for the session. I better know something. So I then started to get into a little bit about it. But it is a study that people have made, and there's all sorts of ways to look at a line. Sometimes the line
Doesn't it also further understanding of the meaning?
Absolutely.
I just had never heard it called stanchion.
Yes, and that's part of it. But it also lets you know that the character is speaking from their heart. And that's what I would hold on to more than anything else. When you have that first scene that I showed you,
Yes.
it becomes almost casual gossip. If they were really terribly upset about it, you would get, it did always seem so to us. But now in the division of the kingdom, one cannot, would have become written in a different way. That's not what's happening here. These are two men who are so comfortable with each other, discussing something private, and it almost carries the feeling of rumor or gossip or just something casual. There's no end result to it that will be similar to what the result will be when Lear starts to speak. Okay? And so you will find also, and this is where I love what happens. Again, all of this is about tools for the actor. In the scene, if you guys could just turn quickly to the scene in Act 1, let's go to the bastard for a minute. And it's scene 2. I don't know if your books are marked up right. Now, thou nature, right? And what I'm going to do is ask you to just skip to Edgar's entrance. And notice how we have how now, brother? We'll go down with Thomas and Nick. Would you just go through that part?
Yeah.
You want me to just start with that?
What page do you want? Yeah. What?
14.
Thank you.
It's towards the bottom, like
Gotcha.
2/3 of the way down.
Right.
How now, Brother Edmund? What serious contemplation are you in?
I'm thinking, brother, of a prediction I read this other day, which would follow these eclipses.
Do you busy yourself with that?
I promise you the effects he writes of succeed unhappily. When till you my father lies?
The night gone by.
Speaking with him.
Okay, hang on. Look at the change that happens.
Yeah.
Notice how we go. I promise you the effects he writes will succeed unhappily. All of a sudden, we just flipped into something possibly verse. And again, the big thing about it is the change, because you're going to have a chance now to impact him, scare him, move him, by making, rather than leaving as part of the casual conversation that came before. Even though the casual conversation is filled with your, I'm thinking of these predictions that I've read, sounds like a terrible thing. That part is just the two of them discussing your problem. But then you have to make that change. Let's try it.
From the same place?
Yep.
Okay. How now, Brother Edmund? What serious contemplation are you in?
I'm thinking, brother, of a prediction I read this other day, which should follow these eclipses.
Do you busy yourself with that?
I promise you the effects he writes of succeed unhappily. When saw you my father last?
The night gone by.
Spake you with him?
It's 2 hours together.
Parted you in good terms? Found you no displeasure in
Okay,
him?
hold on a sec. One of the things I want you to do, I want you to slow that down. When saw you my father?
And take the time
That's right.
to broach it.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're still on the same energy and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Switch the energy. And even the volume.
Okay, same place.
Yeah.
How now, Brother Edmund? What serious contemplation are you in?
I'm thinking, brother, of a prediction I read this other day, which should follow these eclipses.
Do you busy yourself with that?
I promise you the effects he writes of succeed unhappily. When saw you my father last?
The night gone by.
Spake you with him?
2 hours together.
Parted you in good terms? Found you no displeasure in him, by word, nor
and it changes
countenance?
again. Parted you in good terms, found you no displeasure in my book by word or countenance. It moves back into prose. Okay? But what you have here for the moment, when saw you my father last? Either, Thomas, you can finish that line, this night gone by, or take the time to think.
Gotcha.
Then you either finish his line or take the time to think. So, when saw you my father last?
The night gone by.
Spake you with him?
2 hours together.
Parted you in good terms?
There you go. And there you go.
Right.
It starts to play for you. And those empty beats are places to act. They don't die, but they tell you the circumstance. And here's where it comes. Larry had talked about this in an email to me about reality and being human. And one of the things that we sometimes take away from these characters is their humanity, because we don't allow them to sit in a circumstance that is quite human. If I'm asked a question that is dizzying or that doesn't, why would even bring that up after we're talking about eclipses, then I need that moment. It makes pure human sense to say, I need a moment here, right? Rather than coming right in because it's Shakespeare and, of course, who knows what he thought. So let's just get in there right away. But, you know, when Stanislavski, a lot of times we're told that Stanislavski's work was not made for classical theater method. However, we still don't, you shouldn't throw away the idea of circumstance and action from a Shakespearean play. All of these characters have to be in a circumstance, and they have to decide, what do I want, and what do I have to do to get it, which is the action of it, okay? I want to show you one other example of this, and then we'll move forward. And that's the Goneril and Regan scene when they're alone on stage after Cordelia leaves. Sarah, I'm going to ask you to do Regan, okay?
And what page are we?
And it, I don't have this on.
Page 10.
It's too far.
Thank you.
And about a quarter of the way down.
Yeah.
Yep, you've seen it, right?
You want to start with Sister, it is not little.
Yes,
Sister, it is not little I have to say of what most nearly appertains to us both. I think our father will hence tonight.
That's most certain. And with you, next month with us.
You see how full of changes his age is. The observation we've made of it hath been little. He always loved our sister most, and with what poor judgment he hath now cast her off, appears to grossly.
'Tis the infirmity of his age, yet he hath ever but slenderly known himself.
The best and soundest of his time hath been but rash. Then we must look from his age to receive not alone the imperfections of long ingraft condition, but therewithal the unruly waywardness that infirm and choleric years bring with them.
Such inconstant starts are we like to have from him, as this of Kent's banishment.
There is further compliment of leave-taking between France and him. Pray you let us sit together. If our father carry authority with such disposition as he bears, this last surrender of his will but offend us.
We shall further think of it.
We must do something. And in the heat.
Yes, and notice how she starts. She starts in verse,
Right.
and then it changes. And she almost feel her pull
No, you
bringing
don't understand. You
in.
don't
And by the
understand.
end of it, they'll be in league together. Why is that important? Because in this next scene coming up, she's going to write to Reagan, and she wants her on her side. So all we have to see here is this idea of let's talk like two sisters
Let's make a plan.
with each other. That's right. But you're the one who initiates it, because you start off first with sister is not little that I have to say, but what most nearly appertains. One almost feels with Goneril, and I'm going to leave it to you to determine when this is my interpretation versus Shakespeare's or someone else's. But what I get from Goneril as I go through and take this her journey through, it's almost as if she's already queen. That she starts in a kind of imperious way with this. There's very little I have to say that must obtain to it, but it's quite formal, her approach to Regan.
Oh, yeah.
Regan throws it away with that's most certain with you. Next month with us. You have to change your tactic.
No. You
That's
don't understand.
So it's telling us right there we need a switch from Goneril. This being in charge is not, now you have to bring her in league with you. Okay? So all of it is how to figure out what's happening, not just discovering what's being said. I know half the time actors feel that they're living dictionaries and that their biggest job is to somehow clarify what's being said. You have to know what's being said, but only because what's being said reflects what you feel. If you don't feel on stage, you shouldn't act. If all you're going to do is talk, it doesn't belong on stage.
What your action is and who your object or what your object is and how you're going to get there.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
And that produces emotion.
And
All
you
kinds of
have no idea of what you're going to say next. That's the other thing. When we analyze text sometimes, we come to a conclusion about a character, and it's almost as if I've already written this speech off stage, and once I see her, this is what I'm going to say. But what you want to do is give the illusion of the first time. No one has spoken these words. No one has ever heard the response, and I need to respond to it in the moment, rather than I'm Goneril, and this is how I respond to everything. You know, that's what makes it exciting. That's what keeps us on the edge of our seat when we're watching, listening, experiencing.
My father-in-law used to tell this terrible joke, but it's illustrative, and I sometimes, when I'm talking about it. So, yeah. So the guy gets a part on stage. He's never been on stage before. He's so happy he can buy his parents it. So he has one line. Hark, I hear the cannon. Kind of practice. Hark, I hear the cannon. 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 So he goes through this over and over and over again. He gets to the first dress rehearsal. He's about to say his line. Boom! This cannon goes up. What the fuck is that? Right? So if you know,
Yeah.
right, and you're not really paying attention, right? You're basically doing that. You're practicing all these different things, and then when something really happens,
That's when you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Can I ask a question or offer a thought too about just that the little Goneril thing and the verse versus the prose? Like I'm seeing that as we're just coming out of a very formalized, well, somewhat formalized event, right, in front of the king, etc. Yeah, and these two also are looking at each other and they're trying to one-up each other. And then Goneril's tactic is like, okay, I need to stay in this moment here to suss out where she is. And then when she says, yeah, that's, with you and then with me, she's like, okay, now we can step into a little more of intimate moment. As opposed to, not even necessarily as opposed to, stepping into this sense of royalty, of being queen.
I don't think she steps into, I think she starts off that way. I think the way, if we even go before this, and we see just before Cordelia leaves, let your study be to content your Lord, who hath received you at fortune's arms. You have obedience counted, and well are worth one. There's something about her that she knows, she's knowing, and don't forget in this play, one has to ask the question, because it's going to come up with the bastard, if he had sons, would Goneril have gotten the kingdom? Would that have been the inheritance? Is her being a woman? So does she bring into the play a sense of, I deserve this, I'm entitled to it, and I will behave that way. She calls her home a palace. We're going to head into that scene when she will call Lear out for the way he's turned this
palace.
It's less like a Grace Palace. It's more like a tavern or a brothel. This whole idea of appearance. She's also known as Vanity. I think the fool. No, who is the one who says Vanity the puppet's part?
Isn't it fool? I feel like that's something he would say.
But my point being, this woman is, throughout the play, we constantly hear things about the outside, her look, the way she carries herself, the way. So that's the only reason that I say, as she heads into that scene with those four little lines, there's a kind of entitlement that she expects Regan to say, yes, you're right, and we should. But she doesn't. She pulls the carpet from under you. By saying, oh, I don't have to worry about it, it's next month. Which, by the way, is going to open a door to Regan being somebody who puts things off. Right? Because what is she going to do when we get to Act 2? Kent shows up, and Oswald shows up, and what's her action? I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm getting out. I won't be here when the king shows up. So she avoids, she pushes things ahead. I don't want to deal with it until she has to. And you'll see more of that happening. So this idea that, what I find exciting about it is that for the actresses playing it, they're two different women. And Cordelia's a third different woman. And I know it for a fact because I'm one of three sisters, and I will tell you, there's nothing alike with us. We are so different. And I think to make this idea that this is the two evil, like fairy tale of Cinderella, these are the two evil sisters and this is the good sister, I don't know why you want to sit through a play that basically says that, and there's nowhere to go.
Because there are no male heirs in Lear's line. It's as if Goneril has taken on and assumed the role of firstborn son, who normally gets everything. And Regan is the second-born son, which usually used to go into the military or the clergy, even though this is pre-Christian times. But the second one is always lower.
And what's worst of all is who is the prize to Lear? The youngest. And that's why I always say that these people who want to change the line that Lear has, and now our last and least is in the folio, and it's changed in the quarto, not least. But I think he's making a point by saying our least able to inherit the most. And that's why it's riding on how she's going to express her love. And he believes she's going to be dynamite. Let's get ready. You're going to hear love like you've never heard it before. And what does he hear? Nothing. It's thrilling. Oh my God, I get chills just thinking of putting this play on like that.
You should act it.
Not act it. I should direct it. You should do Lear. You should grab these people and get this thing going.
I'm down.
Yeah, you should do it.
Before we start, do you have another small copy? This is getting a bit.
I'm out.
Oh, that's all right. I'll use this.
They're on Amazon for $9.95.
But you know what?
Sometimes
That's right. Like the rest of us, schmucks.
That's right.
Oh no, did Penny tell us she has copies? No, no.
No, he's gotta have the facsimile.
That's right.
Want this?
No, this will be.
Sure. It's a folio.
I know.
All right.
So is this.
Carry them all around.
I know. The mobile phone.
That's right.
She's got some
Okay.
printed on her arm.
Yeah.
So to now start to pay attention to the and thou, you, and to scansion, and to prose, and to just see what changes and discoveries you can make with that. I think that we didn't get up to that final scene with Goneril and Lear, and I'd like to look at that before we read all of that too, if we can. So can we take
Don't
it?
we need the setup? Cordelia?
No, I think we've been through Cordelia. Did you want to do it? The three daughters?
Well, gives.
Oh, you want Sarah to do Cordelia?
Yeah, well, give Sarah.
Let's just take the beginning.
Okay, what page?
This will be page 2.
You know, when Jennifer wrote to me and asked if we would get to Act 4 and 5.
Yeah, it was done.
You know, we taught this at Centenary. We did a 13-week course on just Lear.
Yeah.
And it worked. I mean, but even then, we were just scratching the surface. I mean, I kept trying. I said to Randy, what situation could we create where you had this group of actors come together? What period of time should it be like a retreat where you do a week or 2 weeks? You know what I mean? But I think that, of course, we're doing it 2 weeks. But in order to really explore it, you know,
You need
really,
to rehearse it and prepare it for production.
Yeah. Well, you're being very sassy today. You know, I can always leave you alone to carry on these.
Okay.
Okay. So let's reintroduce the daughters' promises to their father.
Attend the lords of France and Burgundy, Gloucester. Meantime, we shall express our darker purpose. Give me the map there. Know that we have divided in 3 our kingdom, and 'tis our fast intent to shake all cares and business from our age, conferring them on younger strains, while we, unburdened, crawl toward death. Our son of Cornwall, and you, a no less loving son of Albany, we have this hour a constant will to publish our daughters' several dowers, that future strife may be prevented now. The princes, France and Burgundy, great rivals in our youngest daughter's love, long in our court have made their amorous sojourn, and here are to be answered. And tell me, my daughters, since now we will divest us both of rule, interest of territory, cares of state, which of you shall we say doth love us most? That we our largest bounty may extend where nature doth with merit challenge. Goneril, our eldest born, speak first.
Sir, I love you more than word can wield the matter. Dearer than eyesight, space and liberty, beyond what can be valued, rich or rare, no less than life, with grace, health, beauty, honor, as much as child e'er loved, or father found. A love that makes breath poor and speech unable, beyond all manners, so much I love you.
What shall Cordelia speak? Love and be silent.
Of all these bounds, even from this line to this, with shadowy forests, and with champaigns enriched with plenteous rivers, and wide-skirted meads, we make thee, lady. To thine and Albany's issues be this perpetual. Now what says our second daughter? Our dearest Regan, wife of Cornwall.
I am made of that self-metal as my sister, and prize me her worth. In my true heart I find she names my very deed of love. Only she comes too short, that I profess myself an enemy to all other joys, which the most precious square of sense professes, and find I am alone felicitate in your dear highness love.
Then poor Cordelia, and yet not so, since I am sure my love's more ponderous than my tongue.
To thee, and thine hereditary ever, remain this ample third of our fair kingdom, no less in space, validity, and pleasure than that conferred on Goneril. Now our joy, although our last and least, to whose young love the vines of France and milk of Burgundy strive to be interest. What can you say? To draw, sir, more opulent than your sisters. Speak.
Nothing, my lord.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Nothing will come of nothing. Speak again.
Unhappy that I am, I cannot heave my heart into my mouth. I love your majesty according to my bond, no more, no less.
How Cordelia, mend your speech a little, lest you mar your fortunes.
Good my lord, you have begot me, bred me, loved me. I return those duties back as are right fit. Obey you, love you, and most honor you. Why have my sisters husbands, if they say they love you all? Happily, when I shall wed, that lord whose hand must take my plight shall carry half my love with him, half my care and duty. Sure, I shall never marry like my sisters.
What goes thy heart with this?
Ay, my good lord.
So young, and so untender?
So young, my lord, and true.
Now let it be so. Thy truth then be thy dower. For by the sacred radiance of the sun, the mysteries of Hecate and the night, by all the operation of the orbs, from whom we do exist and cease to be, here I disclaim all my paternal care, propinquity and property of blood, and as a stranger to my heart and me, hold thee from this forever. The barbarous Scythian, or he that makes his generation messes to gorge his appetite, shall to my bosom be as well neighboured, pitied, and relieved as thou, my sometime daughter.
Good my liege.
Peace, Kent. Come not between the dragon and his wrath. I loved her most, and thought to set my rest on her kind nursery, hence and avoid my sight. So be my grave my peace, as here I give her father's heart from her, called France. Who stirs, called Burgundy, Cornwall and Albany, with my two daughters' dowers, digest the third. Let pride, which she calls plainness, marry her. I do invest you jointly with my power, preeminence, and all the large effects that troop with majesty. Ourself, by monthly course, with reservation of 100 nights by you to be sustained, shall our abode make with you by due turn. Only we shall retain the name and all the addition to a king. The sway, revenue, execution of the rest, beloved sons, be yours, which to confirm, this coronet part between you.
Royal Lear, whom I have ever honored as my king, loved as my father, and my master followed as my great patron, thought on in my prayers.
The bow is bent and drawn, make from the shaft.
Let it fall, rather, though the fork invade the region of my heart. Oh, be Kent unmannerly when Lear is mad. What wouldst thou do, old man? Think'st thou that duty shall have dread to speak when power to flattery bows? To plainness honour's bound. When majesty falls to folly, reserve thy state, and in thy best consideration check the hideous rashness. Answer my life, my judgment. Thy youngest daughter does not love thee least, nor are those empty-hearted whose low sounds reverb no hollowness.
Kent, on thy life.
My
No
life,
more.
my life I never held but as a pawn to wage against thine enemies. Ne'er fear to lose it, thy safety being motive.
Out of my sight.
See better, Lear, and let me still remain the true blank of thine eye.
By Apollo.
Now by Apollo, King, thou swearst thy gods in vain.
Vassal! Miscreant!
Dear sir, forbear. Oh, kill thy physician, and thy fee bestow upon the foul disease. Revoke thy gift, or whilst I can vent clamor from my throat, I'll tell thee thou dost evil.
Hear me, recreant. On thine allegiance hear me. That thou hast sought to make us break our vows, which we thus never yet, and with strained pride to come betwixt our sentences and our power, which nor our nature nor our place can bear. Our potency made good, take thy reward. 5 days we do allot thee for provision to shield thee from disasters of the world, and on the 6th to turn thy hated back upon our kingdom. If on the 10th day following thy banished trunk be found in our dominions, the moment is thy death away. By Jupiter, it shall not be revoked.
Fairly well, King. Sith thus thou wilt appear, freedom lives hence and banishment is here. The gods to their dear shelter take thee, maid, that justly think'st and hast most rightly said. And your large speeches may your deeds approve, that good effects may spring from words of love. Thus Kent, O princes, bid you all adieu. He'll shape his old course in a country new.
Okay, let's start there.
I have a question. At the very, very beginning, Lear says, we have this hour a constant will to publish our daughter's several dowries. Now, traditionally, a dowry bestowed almost immediately upon a marriage. So are Goneril and Regan fairly newly married to Albany and Cornwall?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes, I think so, and I think that's why I think, for me, the production that I'm eager to see or do is with young women. So many times actresses, or the seasoned actresses, are asked to do the Goneril or Regan, mostly Goneril, but and so they're older, and so even when Lear curses her womb, one wonders what he's cursing.
Yeah.
It's too late. And so I think, however, I think if you see that they're young, and this play is also about age and youth, and I think to see that, witness that, I think becomes very important. I just saw a recent production where the Goneril, man, she wasn't much younger than me, and I thought, this is not. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
For that to be.
And it's
so,
also
yes.
that Lear is also aware that there's a very strong possibility that Albany and Cornwall are coming to grips, because he says to prevent future strife now.
Oh, yes, I think, but he's talking about are you saying that he's talking about Albany and Cornwall?
Well,
that's the
he's
fear.
publishing their dowries now to prevent future strife.
Yes.
So it's my feeling that Lear is very aware that if he plans to divide the kingdom. If it's even slightly out of balance, it's all going to go to hell.
Yes, I think you're right. And I think he already, see, but that's why right from the get-go, when Gloucester says, Kent says, I thought the king had more affected the Duke of Albany than Cornwall. If the king would have gone with his instinct, perhaps things would have been different. But the reason that he's expecting the strife to come between Cornwall and Albany, not Cordelia.
Right.
She ends up throwing the wrench in, and he feels, if I can prevent the strife where the strife is going to be, which is Cornwall and Albany, then okay, I've taken care of that. And now I can give Cordelia what I want her to have, which will, and that will also allow her to be married to France. She gains a country. So he does know already. But I think because he loves Cordelia so much and expects that this is the way to do this, that because he has absolute faith that she's going to deliver the love speech that's appropriate, and that's why he's going through this.
Right.
I think there are people who believe that he's mad already, or that. I mean, there's certain conjectures about it. I don't think so. I think for me, it's quite obvious of what he wants to accomplish here. Because he ties it into France and Burgundy right from the top. Actually,
it's quite an astute assessment of the whole situation of him giving up control over his whole kingdom, but he's going to divide it equally. And hopefully that will prevent future strife.
Now, the question that I think you have to ask, I think is where we can get into the weeds with Act 1 and never get to 4 or 5, is what is he giving up? What is he giving up? And what's new when Cordelia is rejected? And what he's giving. Now, I think it's interesting that he says, since now we will divest us both of rule, interest of territory, cares of state, that is in the folio. That's not in the quarto. And so it goes right from, long in our court have made their sojourn here to be answered. Tell me, my daughters, which of you shall we say doth love us? But the folio has put in actually what he's suggesting that he's going to give up. How do you interpret that? How is he still king if he's giving up rule?
Right. Yeah.
If he's
Can you?
That's right. Can you?
It begs the question, why? Why in the first place? I mean, he could do something similar to this without having to
give up rule.
Or on his deathbed.
Well, and if he got what he wanted, what would have happened? Could he have just saddled up with Cordelia so that if anything happened, he's with the largest land and France?
That's right. And what you guys are doing is you're giving the exact reason why an audience stays hooked to it. Because they're asking those questions.
Why?
Yes, you don't have to solve it for them. They'll sit there and say, well, what is he? Yeah, John.
Well, if he is, and if we look at the Elizabethan conceptualization of kingship, if he is next to God, he has to remain king in some way, shape, or form. It does not necessarily have to be any of the pragmatics of it, the day-to-day stuff. He is the king, whatever that means, spiritually, almost religiously. He holds.
Well, he should be, but he's screwing it up.
Right.
And that's what you're going to see that through the course of the play. And Kent tries to bring that up to him. You're allowing yourself, you're putting yourself in a position that's taking away your authority. That's the word you're going to use when you meet him next time.
Right.
But that's what are you giving up?
His agency.
Right.
What?
He's giving up his agency.
His power.
But he says he's going to retain his kingship, right? In the speech, he says
After he rejects Cordelia.
he says after he with all the large effects of truth of majesty. But before he says that, he says, where is it? And only we shall retain the name and all the addition to a king, the sway, revenue, execution of the rest, beloved sons, be yours. but he thinks he can give up the
Have his
day to
cake
day.
and eat it too.
Yeah, I'm going to give up the admin. I'm going to go retire, but I'll still be king. Yeah,
That's exactly right, and that's why he's wrong.
right.
And that's what he's got to learn through the course of, because the next act, which I promise we'll get to some point, but what we learn from even the end of this act is that Goneril is going to start to strip him of authority. I think what's so incredible is when we look at that scene when he comes back from hunting, something as small as dinner. Oh, does anybody bring in the dinner? No. Where's the dinner? He says it a second time. Where's my fool? Where's my daughter? She doesn't want to speak to you. All of a sudden, he's not king. He may have God on his side. He may have blood of a king, but he's not being treated as a king.
And it would have been
that
so different if he had continued to keep her. But doing what he does, and that scene afterwards with Cordelia, the scene between Regan and Goneril afterwards, they go, whoa.
Yeah.
What just
And here's the thing about, the Wheel of Fortune. King is here, fool is here. And once that turns, it's chaos. For a fool, I'll let you come to your own conclusion. But for a fool to be in charge is chaos. And that's what he's creating.
Also, too, he was going to divide the kingdom in three, but it turns out he's going to divide it in half.
So the strife he was trying to avoid is
Right.
just recreated.
magnified?
As a certain character you voiced, Randy said, one often meets his destiny on the road he takes to avoid it.
That's right. So I became very aware of the change indicated and the difference between the thee and the thou and the you when Kent, he's speaking to Lear, thee, thou,
Yes.
and even when he says goodbye to Cordelia, it's thou, change.
Yes.
He's talking to the sisters, you.
Yes,
Oh,
and it happens.
palpable.
You see exactly it happens right here, and that's why I think there's more time. Sure, I shall never marry like my sisters, right? And this is the change, because up until now, he says, mend your speech a little, what can you, and she uses, I love your majesty, all of that is you. Then it changes, but goes thy heart with this. So this is the king now changing over to that one pronoun that, and I think, Granny, you have the time in there because you almost feel his authority now slips in. Goes thy heart with this. Almost as if now you're standing not in front of your father, but in front of the king. And that's who you have to answer to, I, my good Lord. Okay? So young and so untender, there's no, so young, my Lord, and true. You stick to your guns, and look what happens. Now we're full blast, thy, and he's, the curses that he lays forth, that the mysteries of Hecate in the night, all the operations of the orbs, he is enraged, and that's coming out now in those vows. Randy and I would talk about this too, is that vow is also a key sometimes to passion. So when a character is impassioned, whether it's love, anger, whatever it is, it's something that forces them to change the relationship. And I found with Kent too, I
And
thought...
that very next thing, he's full of thou and thy.
Yes, but why? Why? It goes back to what John was saying, that he's king. No, he gave it up. Now he's an old man.
Right.
That's who you are now.
Yeah.
You're just basically an old man, and you decided that's who you are.
Right. And when he gets to, I was thinking of in Act 2, when he gets and he says, I would speak with my daughter, right? And Gloucester says, oh, you know how he is. And he says, what, Gloucester, you don't hear me. I just said, I'm the king.
Right.
I just said, bring them to me.
That's
What
right.
are you not getting about this?
That's right. And the next thing you're going to find as we go through the play is that even the gods aren't going to listen to him. He's stripped to nothing. It brings us right back to the Cordelia nothing. He's stripped of everything. He can't even ask the gods anymore when he's out in that storm. So everything is everything. But who's not going to abandon him? The fool, Kent, his gentleman, and ultimately Cordelia.
Mhm.
But I thought too, if I was staging it, one of the things that I would want to have happen is you do have a formal. What?
No, it's touched. That's what I'm saying about this play. It's like, oh my God.
Right. But
The people he banishes
yes,
Are the very ones
that are going to come back.
that's right.
Yeah.
And to add to even Gloucester, who takes care of Gloucester?
The
Certainly with
Saki.
Yes.
Edward.
Yeah.
But the old man who helps guide you when you're blind. So small
Yeah.
characters that still
Or
have
the servant who tries to keep your other eye from being taken.
Right.
being
And
taken.
is killed.
It's those characters that take on a humanity that the court has lost. Now look, I don't think we need suits to tell the story. I mean, take a look at our own society and what's happening to those people who still have humanity. Those people that, the $10, $15 that go to the storm victims. Those people who don't have 2 dimes to rub together, but they'll do anything to help their neighbor. That's what's here, and that's what's now, and that's what's then, and that's what is always.
Nothing ever changes.
When I was professor at Fairleigh Dickinson, I had a faculty parking slot thing in my car. When I became professor emeritus, I got no parking.
You didn't just get the old sticker. That's what I did.
And comes back and Lear says, "What do you see in me?" The word he uses is authority.
Yes,
So I give you back what you.
yes, that's right. That's right. I think, and I've always wondered about that word, that choice of, and it does impact Lear.
Yeah.
Because Lear follows it with,
Yes.
if I don't like you any worse after
Yeah.
dinner, I'm going to keep you around, So obviously, I mean, as we go through this, you can see where, I mean, it's kind of a fool's game to think that you can just look at Act 1 and move on to Act 2.
Mhm.
It's just so filled with so much. But I think the thing that we do want to get across, at least I do, is to never underestimate our audience. And if we know what we're doing and we're telling the story, trust me, the audience will get it. Remember my father, that the audience will get it. And I think that we also want to allow the question, why the hell do you think he's lasted over 400 years? Not because he concluded anything, but because he was willing to throw questions about to be or not to be. If you look at Hamlet, Hamlet has more question marks than any other punctuation. Why? Why? Why does it live on? But if we take those questions away and think we know the answer, you're ruining the play for everybody. I just have to tell you that. You don't know. If you can accept that you don't know, then you can go on the journey and say to the audience, this is why I would also say to you, and then I'll shut up for a little bit, that it's very hard to do Shakespeare on film. And the reason for that is there's no live audience. And the audience impacts the development of the play. It doesn't change the words. But the reason you're there is to tell a story to the audience. I used to do this exercise in students where I had A1, A2, and the script. And here's the thing. You have actor 1, you have the script, and you have the audience. And if you cut out the audience and it's just you and the script, then it's just some narcissistic display of, go get a hotel room and be by yourself. But it's not. It's about that audience. That audience has to be a very important part of what we're doing.
Well,
That's why
live
live
is a partner.
theater makes a
The audience is the partner, and the audience is the character's conscience. Because otherwise, why are there soliloquies?
Yes. And speaking about that conscience, when the bastard is the one, Lear only has his one speech in the rain where he says, I've taken too little care of this. But that's not addressing the audience. He says he's going to pray. But the bastard has a soliloquy. The bastard, Iago, has. That's right. So, and that soliloquy is two things. It's almost, Stella used to say that it's like taking your inner thoughts and putting them in front of you, and examining your inner thoughts in front of you. I would also suggest to you that the soliloquy is when there's no one in the play that you can express your thoughts to, and only the audience. And so I can tell the audience, because I have no one in this play that I can trust. Richard III in the beginning, now is the winter of our discontent. Iago, he will address the audience. And what do? We make the audience complicit in our evil. We're bringing them in, and the audience can either sit there and not say a word, or just want to scream, don't do it, or whatever. But it's a tension that we can create in the audience by soliloquy, telling them something that we wouldn't tell anybody else in the play. So
that's why Richard III, a good Richard III, will entertain you so much.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's fun. He's good, you know. We want him to win, right? And it's all like he kills the kids, and then you're like,
yep.
Oh.
That's right.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a little off, but something struck me in that scene with Kent and Lear that was a parallel to something of Oedipus and Tiresias.
Mm-hmm.
And the hubris that Oedipus shows there when Tiresias says to him, "You are the unclean thing."
Mm-hmm.
A direct challenge to his very identity.
Yep.
And I think he says to him, "You have made a grave mistake in judgment. I never make a mistake in judgment.
That's right.
I am always right." That's the hubris.
Yep.
Right there. It's very Greek.
Yep.
It's very Greek. Then the other thing I noticed is that it's also very Christian. The stone that was rejected has now become the cornerstone. The last shall be first. Right? Rejection. And then they come back. And they're the ones that, right?
Yeah.
Fascinating how it all gets mingled in there.
That's right.
It's really...
Okay, so let's move forward.
What?
I wish you could see my house, you know. I'm sitting, because I cook, so that's always in the schedule. But I also have, I'm sitting with this table that has the variorum, and it has the art, and it has my book, and it has the dictionary, and it's, So I think, gosh, how do you pass all of this on?
Oh.
How can you even begin to?
Hang in there.
Maybe you should Maybe that's the key to it.
Well, look at Randy. He's been trying to do this for years. He's lost his hair. He's gray.
Right. One other thing I want to point out about Kent, however, is, Gary, we talked a little bit about this, is that it's almost a midway between who you will become in your disguise, who you were as Kent the Lord, and now this one step down with saying things to him that's quite audacious. I don't think that you need to be, and again, you have to feel this out, because here's the problem. An actor, this is actor territory, you have to feel it out. But what I'd like you to take a look at is allowing those words to take on a kind of disrespect in and of themselves, rather than feeling your own passion about it. So that when he says, "Let it fall," you've made a decision, be Kent unmannerly when Lear is mad. What wouldst thou do, old man? You know, rather than feeling that I have to constantly hit him over the head, to allow those words to take on, because I think that you think that Judy shall have dread to speak when power and flattery bows. No, almost become, I want to say disrespectful, but not necessarily aggressive with all of it. You have to find a way through that, however.
I also think there's a, and I may not be right about this, but I'm just thinking, about this earlier. I also think that he, in some way, is trying to signal to him, you've left yourself without power already. Look at me. I'm speaking to you like this. What can you do about it? What are you going to, you can threaten and bluster and all this, but what can you actually do about it? And not, sire, you know, what is it? What are you doing, old man? Fool, right? I mean, it's like, wake up. See, I'm talking to you like this right now. See? And it's, you're throwing it all away.
Right.
And this is how people are going to speak to you.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's under it. Here, my only, I won't say caution, but I want to at least hear once the idea that it's the content of what I'm speaking rather than how I'm saying it. Because when you look at that, what wouldst thou do, old man? Thinkst thou that Judy shall have dread to speak when flattered to bow to plainness, honest bound when majesty falls to fault? Find yourself behind the words. You know, so because here's the other thing that happens with this kind of a play, and tragedy in general, is that we get so emotional about it that it starts to take over. The sound of emotion starts to take over, and one wonders why we have so many words to say that with. You know, so what's the change? And also for everybody, when do I need to change? Am I getting what I want from this person? If I'm allowed to go on for that long, something's happening in Lear. Are you starting to convince him? Is he rejecting? He's not verbally rejecting it for a good, 15 lines, 14 lines. And look at how he responds. Kent, on thy life no more. Stop it, he says, right? My life I never held but as a pawn. So argue with him with content as much as emotion. Okay, makes sense?
Yep.
Everybody? Then we're at the midway point of who you will become, which will be
straight talking.
The Kent, right?
The straight talking.
Yeah, then now we're ready to move to the second act, the end of the first act, right? When you come back with the other styles. Okay? I do want to move on. I think Burgundy and France, we got that. And so what I would like to do is if we could just take a look at I think Gloucester and Bastard we've done last week. And we just did that little bit of Edgar. So if we could just do that Goneril Stewart start there for a minute. Because I want to show you some of the stuff that happens here. Is everybody cool with that?
We're
Page 15.
15 towards the bottom.
Did my father strike my gentleman for chatting of his fool?
Aye, madam.
By day and night he wrongs me. Every hour he flashes into one gross crime or other that sets us all at odds. I will not endure it. His nights grow riotous, and himself upbraids us on every trifle. When he returns from hunting, I will not speak with him. Say I am sick. If you come slack of former services, you shall do well. The fault of it I'll answer.
He's coming, madam. I hear him.
Put on what weary negligence you please, you and your fellows. I'll have it come to question. If he distasted, let him to my sister, whose mind and mine I know and that are one. Remember what I've said.
Well, madam.
And let his knights have colder looks among you. What grows good no matter. Advise your fellows so. I'll ride straight to my sister to hold my course. Prepare for dinner.
Okay, now hold on a sec, because what I want to add to this now is the question is, did my father strike my gentleman for chiding his fool? All right, Lear, if he were king, would have every right to strike you a gentleman because it's an allowed fool and it's part of Lear's train, and so he would have had every right. He's not, again, goes back to John's point about king. He's not king anymore, in your eyes, at least. We know that, right? You agree, I matter. All right. By day and night he wrongs me. Now, again, it's in verse. It goes from prose. Now we're in verse. What I'd suggest, Jennifer, is if you could save some of your anger and take on more of giving out, I'm in control.
I don't need
With
to
some
yell
of this.
because I'm in charge.
Yes. And because I think we're going to have to meet you when it comes to Lear, and I think she's wonderful at keeping that control. The other thing I want to point out to everybody is that when she says put on what weary negligence, she's instructing her servant to be rude to her father and who once was king and his men, but you. She says, I'll have it come to question. Again, we see that part of Goneril that we saw in the first scene. We have to do something, and in the heat, here she is again, doing something because it has to be done. All right? And we're finding that, let him say, whose mind and mine I know in that are one. And that has to go back to that first conversation that you had and you falter in. Right. One thing I do want to point out, he's coming, madam, I hear him. See those two beats that are left? Make up your mind on those two beats. Rather than
Jumping in.
Yes, because then it sounds like it's been decided. But I think we have to see how good you are thinking on your feet. Makes sense? Yeah. I think, what time is it? Because I want to make sure I get it.
2:24.
What is it?
2:24.
2:24.
An hour and a half.
Should we take a quick break?
Good.
And then come back, because then we'll keep moving forward? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I just saw Sarah leave and thinking maybe other people need to breathe. Okay.
It's fascinating. There's no idea where
Get
I
it time too.
We won't let you.
Did my father strike my gentleman for chiding of his fool?
Aye, madam.
By day and night he wrongs me. Every hour he flashes into one gross crime or other that sets us all at odds. I'll not endure it. His nights grow riotous, and himself upbraids us on every trifle. When he returns from hunting, I will not speak with him. Say I am sick. If you come slack of former services, you shall do well. The fault of it I'll answer.
He's coming, madam. I hear him.
Put on what weary negligence you please, you and your fellows. I'd have it come to question. If he distasted, let him to my sister, whose mind and mine I know in that are one. Remember what I've said.
Well, madam.
And let his knights have colder looks among you. What grows of it, no matter. Advise your fellows so. I'll write straight to my sister to hold my course. Prepare for dinner.
Good. Hold on, I want to do it one more time, and now I want you to deal out orders. Do this, do this, do this.
Okay.
And rather than not rather than, but on top of whatever that thing that you're feeling about him, allow yourself to take charge. I will. You know the thing I noticed, by the way, he upgrades us. That's a royal us.
True.
So that's what I mean. She's queen now. And that's why I think the more you can cut, now it's just a matter of cut and dry. Do this, and you know what, do this too. That kind of thing. Just to hear what might happen. And by the way, this worked wonderfully. He's coming, madam, I hear him. Put on some, it changes
Yes.
why you're adding that in. And I heard it. So one more time.
Yep. Did my father strike my gentleman for chiding of his fool?
Aye, madam.
By day and night he wrongs me. Every hour he flashes into one gross crime or other that sets us all at odds. I'll not endure it. His nights grow riotous, and himself upbraids us on every trifle. When he returns from hunting, I will not speak with him. Say I am sick. If you come slack of former services, you shall do well. The fault of it I'll answer.
Oh, he's coming, madam. I hear him.
Put on what weary negligence you please, you and your fellows. I'd have it come to question. If he distasted, let him to my sister, whose mind and mine I know in that are one. Remember what I've said.
Well, madam.
And let his knights have colder looks among you. What grows of no matter. Advise your fellows so. I'll write straight to my sister to hold my course. Prepare for dinner.
Good. Okay, better. And here's the thing. Again, it's going to happen on well, madam. Another thought. And let your knights have more. It's almost as if she's building this strategy of how to get Lear to You can almost see her wheels turning. And let his knights have colder. Yeah. Prepare for dinner. I'm ready. All right? And this is the goneril that we get to see behind closed doors. So as we move to your next scene, this is a different gon. She's going to have to try out different tactics with Lear because she's not talking to the steward anymore, Oswald anymore.
No.
But again, that's another thing to start to figure out. When am I myself and when do I have to put on a personality that suits whoever it is I'm speaking to. We'll see that come up. All right? Let's keep going.
But as will I other accents borrow that can my speech diffuse, my good intent may carry through itself to that full issue for which I raised my likeness. Now, banished Kent, if thou canst serve where thou dost stand condemned, so may it come, thy master whom thou lovest shall find thee full of labors.
Well, let me not stay a jot for dinner. Go, get it ready. How now? What art thou? A man, sir. Oh, and what dost thou profess? What wouldst thou with us?
I do profess to be no less than I seem, to serve him truly that will put me in trust, to love him that is honest, to converse with him that is wise and says little, to fear judgment, to fight when I cannot choose, and to eat no fish.
What art thou?
A very honest-hearted fellow, and as poor as the king.
Oh, if thou be as poor for a subject as he's for a king, well, thou art poor enough. What wouldst thou?
Service.
And who wouldst thou serve?
You.
Dost thou know me, fellow?
No, sir. But you have that in your countenance which I would fain call master.
Oh, what's that?
Authority.
So what services canst thou do?
I can keep honest counsel. Ride, run, ne'er a curious tale in telling it, and deliver a plain message bluntly. That which ordinary men are fit for, I am qualified in, and best of me is diligence.
How old art thou?
Not so young, sir, to love a woman for singing, nor so old to dote on her for anything. I have years on my back, 47, 48, 49.
Well, follow me, thou shalt serve me. If I like thee no worse after dinner, I will not part from thee yet. But dinner! Oh, dinner! Where's my knave? My fool? Go you and call my fool hither. You, sir, where's my daughter?
So please you.
What says the fellow there? Call the clock hold back. Where's my fool? Oh, I think the world's asleep. How now? Now, where's that mongrel?
Larry, want to say?
He says, my lord, your daughter's got not well.
Well, why came not the slave back to me when I called him?
Sir, he answered me in the roundest manner. He would not.
He would not?
My lord, I know not what the matter is, but to my judgment, your highness is not entertained with that ceremonious affection as you were wont. There's a great abatement of kindness appears as well in the general dependents, as in the Duke himself also, and your daughter.
Sayest thou so?
I beseech you, pardon me, my lord, if I be mistaken, for my duty cannot be silent when I think your highness wrong.
Well, thou but rememberest me of mine own conception. I perceived a most faint neglect of late, which I rather blamed as mine own jealous curiosity, and as a very pretence and purpose of unkindness. I will look further into it. But where's my fool? I've not seen him these 2 days.
Since my young lady's going into France, sir, the fool hath much pined away.
No more of that. I've noted it well. Go you and tell my daughter I would speak with her. And go you, call hither my fool. Oh, you, sir, you. Come you hither, sir. Who am I, sir?
My lady's father.
My lady's father? My lord's knave, you whoreson dog, you slave, you cur!
I am none of these, my lord. I beseech your pardon.
Do you bandy looks with me, you rascal?
I'll not be strucken, my lord.
Nor tricked, neither, you base football player.
I thank thee, fellow, thou servest me, and I'll love thee.
Come, sir, arise, away. I'll teach you differences. Away, away. I will measure you lovers' length again. Tarry, but away, go to. Have you wisdom, sir?
Now, my friendly knave, I thank thee. Well, there's earnest of thy service.
Let me hire him too. Here's my coxcomb.
How now, my pretty knave, how dost thou?
Sirrah, you would best take my coxcomb.
Why, my boy?
Why? For taking one's part that's out of favor. Nay, and thou canst not smile as the wind sits. Thou wilt catch cold shortly. There, take my coxcomb. Why, this fellow has banished 2 on his daughters, and did the 3rd a blessing against his will. If thou follow him, thou must needs wear my coxcomb. How now, uncle? Well, I have 2 coxcombs and 2 daughters.
Why, my boy?
If I gave them all my living, I'd keep my coxcombs myself. There's mine. Beg another of thy daughters.
Take heed, sir, the whip.
Oh, truth's a dog must to kennel. He must be whipped out, and the Lady Brack may stand by the fire and stink.
You're a pestilent gall to me.
Sirrah, I'll teach thee a speech.
Do.
Mark it, nuncle. Have more than thou showest. Speak less than thou knowest. Lend less than thou owest. Ride more than thou goest. Learn more than thou trowest. Set less than thou throwest. Leave thy drink in thy whore. And keep in a door, and thou shalt have more than 2 tens to a score.
This is nothing, fool.
And 'tis like the breath of an unfeed lawyer. You gave me nothing for it. Can you make no use of nothing, uncle?
Why, no, boy. Nothing can be made out of nothing.
Prithee tell him. So much the rent of his hand comes to, he will not believe a fool.
A bitter fool.
Dost thou know the difference, my boy, between a bitter fool and a sweet one?
No, lad, teach me.
Uncle, give me an egg and I'll give thee 2 crowns.
What 2 crowns shall they be?
Why, after I have cut the egg in the middle and eat up the meat, the 2 crowns of the egg. When thou clovest thy crowns in the middle, and gavest away both parts, thou borest thine ass on thy back o'er the dirt. Thou hast little wit in thy bald crown, when thou gavest thy golden one away. If I speak like myself in this, let him be whipped that first finds it so. Fools have there less grace in a year, for wise men are grown foppish, and know not how their wits to wear, their manners are so apish.
When will you want to be so full of song, sirrah?
I have used it, nuncle, ere since thou madest thy daughters thy mothers. For when thou gavest them the rod, and putst down thine own breeches, then they for sudden joy did weep, and I for sorrow sung, that such a king could play Bo Peep and go the fool among. Prithee, nuncle, keep a schoolmaster that can teach thy fool to lie. I would fain learn to lie.
Oh, and you lie, sirrah, we'll have you whipped.
I marvel what kin thou and thy daughters are. They'll have me whipped for speaking true, thou'lt have me whipped for lying, and sometimes I am whipped for holding my peace. I'd rather be any kind of thing than a fool. And yet I would not be thee, nuncle. Thou hast pared thy wit of both sides, and left nothing in the middle. Here comes one of the parents.
Well, how now, daughter? What makes that frontlet on? You're too much of late in the frown.
Thou wast a pretty fellow when thou hadst no need to care for her frowning. Now that thou art an O without a figure, I am better than thou art now. I am a fool. Thou art nothing. Yes, forsooth, I will hold my tongue, so your face bids me, though you say nothing. Mum, mum, he that keeps nor crust nor crumb, weary of all, shall want some. That's a shell piece cut.
Not only, sir, this. You're all licensed fool, but other of your insolent retinue do hourly carp and quarrel, breaking forth and break not to be endured riots, sir. I had thought, by making this well known unto you, to have found a safe redress, but now grow fearful by what yourself too late have spoken done, that you protect this course, and put it on by your allowance, which if you should, the fault would not escape censure, nor the redress is sleep. Which in the tender of a wholesome meal might in their working do you that offence, which else were shame, that the necessity will call discreet proceeding.
For you know, nuncle, the hedge sparrow fed the cuckoo so long that it's had its head bit off by it young. So out went the candle, and we were all left darkling.
Are you our daughter?
I would you would make use of your good wisdom where I know you are fraught, and put away these dispositions which of late transport you from what you rightly are.
May not an ass know when the cart draws the horse? Ooh, Jug, I love thee.
Does any here know me? Huh? This is not Lear. Does Lear walk thus, speak thus? Where are his eyes? Either his notion weakens, his discerning's a lethargy. Ha! Waking, but 'tis not so. Who is it that can tell me who I am?
Lear's shadow.
Your name, fair gentlewoman.
This admiration, sir, is much of a savour of other your new pranks. I do beseech you to understand my purposes aright. As you are old and reverend, should be wise. Here you do keep 100 knights and squires, men so disordered, so debauched and bold, that this our court, infected with their manners, shows like a riotous inn. Epicurism and lust makes it more like a tavern or a brothel than a graced palace. The shame itself doth speak for instant remedy. Be then desired by her, that else will take the thing she begs, a little to disquantity your trade. The remainders that shall still depend to be such men as may besort your age, which know themselves and you.
Darkness and devils! Saddle my horses! Call my train together! Degenerate bastard! I'll not trouble thee. Yet have I left a daughter.
You strike my people, and your disordered rabble make servants of their betters.
Oh, that too late repents. Is it your will? Speak, sir. Prepare my horses. Ingratitude. Thou marble-hearted fiend. More hideous when thou showest thee in a child than in the sea monster.
Pray, sir, be patient.
Detested kite, thou liest. My train are men of choice and rarest parts, that all particulars of duty know, and in the most exact regard support the worships of their name. For most small fault, how ugly didst thou in Cordelia show, which like an engine wrenched my frame of nature from the fixed place, drew from my heart all love, and added to the gall. Oh, Lear, 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 beat at this gate that let thy folly in and thy dear judgment out. Go, go, my people.
My lord, I am guiltless, as I am ignorant of what hath moved you.
It may be so, my lord. Here, nature, dear God, here, dear goddess, here. Suspend thy purpose, if thou didst intend to make this creature fruitful. Into her womb convey sterility, dry up in her the organs of increase, and from her derogate body never spring a babe to honor her. If she must teem, create her child of spleen, that it may live and be a thwart disnatured torment to her. Let it stamp wrinkles in her brow of youth, with cadent tears fret channels in her cheeks, turn all her mother's pains and benefits to laughter and contempt, that she may feel how sharper than a serpent's tooth it is to have a thankless child. Away, away.
Now, gods that we adore, whereof comes this?
Never afflict yourself to know more of it, but let his disposition have that scope as dotage gives it.
What, 50 of my followers and a clap within a fortnight?
What's the matter, sir?
I'll tell thee life and death. I'm ashamed that thou hast power to shake my manhood thus, that these hot tears which break from me perforce should make thee work them. Blasts and fogs upon thee. The untented woundings of a father's curse pierce every sense about thee. O fond eyes, beweep this cause again, I'll pluck ye out, and cast you with the waters that you loose to temper clay. Ah, let it be so. I have another daughter, who I'm sure is kind and comfortable. When she shall hear this of thee, with her nails she'll flay thy wolfish visage. Thou shalt find that I'll resume the shape which thou dost think I have cast off forever.
Do you mark that?
I cannot be so partial, Goneril. To the great love I bear you.
Pray you content. What, Oswald, ho! You, sir, more knave than fool, after your master.
Nuncle Lear, tarry, take the fool with thee. A fox when one has caught her, and such a daughter should sure to the slaughter, if my captive buy a halter, so the fool follows after.
This man hath had good counsel. 100 knights. 'Tis politic and safe to let him keep at point 100 knights. Yes, and on every dream, each buzz, each fancy, each complaint, dislike, he may enguard his dotage with their powers, and hold our lives in mercy. Oswald, I say!
Well, you may fear too far.
Safer than trust too far. Let me still take away the harms I fear, not fear still to be taken. I know his heart. What he hath uttered I have writ my sister. If she sustain him and his 100 knights, then I have showed the unfitness. How now, Oswald? What have you writ that letter to my sister?
Aye, madam.
Take you some company and away to horse. Inform her full of my particular fear, and thereto add such reasons of your own as may compact it more. Get you going, and hasten your return. No, my lord, this milky gentleness and course of yours, though I condemn not, yet under pardon you are much more a task for want of wisdom than praised for harmful mildness.
How far your eyes may pierce, I cannot tell. Striving to better oft we mar what's well.
Nay,
Well, the event.
Go you before to Gloucester with these letters. Acquaint my daughter no further with anything you know that comes from her demand out of the letter. But if your diligence be not speedy, I shall be there for you.
I will not sleep, my lord, till I have delivered your letter.
If a man's brains were in his heels, were it not in danger of chimes?
Aye, boy.
Prithee, be merry. Thy wit shall not go slipshod. Shalt see thy other daughter will use thee kindly. For though she's as like this as a crab's like an apple, yet I can tell what I can tell.
What canst tell, boy?
She will taste like this as like a crab's to a crab. Thou canst tell why one's nose stands in the middle of one's face.
No.
Why to keep one's eyes of either side's nose, that what a man cannot smell out, he may spy into.
I did her wrong.
Canst tell how an oyster makes his shell?
No.
No, nor I neither. But I can tell why a snail has a house.
Why?
Why to put his head in. Not to give it away to his daughters and leave his horns without a case.
I will forget my nature. So kind a father. Be my horses ready.
My asses are gone about them. The reason why the 7 stars are no more than 7 is a pretty reason.
Because they're not 8.
Yes, indeed. Thou wouldst make a good fool.
To take it again perforce. Monster ingratitude.
If thou wert my fool, uncle, I'd have thee beaten for being old before thy time.
How's that?
Thou shouldst not have been old till thou hadst been wise.
Can you not be mad? Not mad. Sweet heaven, keep me in temper. I would not be mad. How now, are the horses ready?
Ready, my lord.
Come, boy.
She that's a maid now and laughs at my departure shall not be a maid long unless things be cut shorter.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go back and just take a look at first of all, any questions about any of it? I think let's start there.
Yes, open the floor.
Let me start by reiterating what I had said earlier about how this is the moment now where we see giving up that kingship has altered relations with him. The knight still acknowledges him as a king. Obviously, you've moved on, and you've given permission to Oswald to move on as well. You get to experience the loss of that power that you once had, which I think must be absolutely confusing. I think that's where let me not be mad comes from. How can this possibly be? You know, and I think that that's where, again, when we're dealing with a king who doesn't have power anymore, doesn't even realize what he gave up, even though you tried to tell him, now has to experience it firsthand. My suggestion as you work on the fool is you almost have too much energy for him. If we've been told that you've been pining away, and then for you to come out and be the clown, I think there's something we've got to search for that's different. And I think that the other thing I want to cause your attention to is, who's the wise man? Who's saying all of the wisdom in this? The fool? You should have been wise before you were old. I wouldn't have given it away to my daughters. So the content of that is just sheer wisdom. The fool is here. So to find your way to those moments of, and I think bitter fool is a good definition of who you are, a description of bitter fool. He took away, if you're pining and crying for the loss of Cordelia, he's to blame. You know, so I don't think it's so much about helping him change his ways as much as it is getting him to see just what he's doing. Punish him. Punish him. Makes sense, right? Okay. I think the thing to keep striving for with her is that you would be the best ruler there is. She's a little bit now the wicked, what's the wicked queen from Sleeping Beauty?
The evil queen.
Yeah, I don't think you have to go that far.
So
I think you have, because you have a strong presence, strong voice. So I think what you have to do is command. Now, what you did, which I think was really right on it, is that first speech she has to him. It's convoluted. It's not straightforward. There's a sense of you know what I'm talking about.
The one on 21,
right?
Not only sir.
Yes. You're all licensed fool. Okay, that makes it. But other of your insolent retinue do hourly carp and car. Look, she's using $10 words here. Because I'm going to try to talk to you like an intelligent human being and understand. But again, you're putting on the robes of authority and
I'm going to try to talk reasons.
That's right. And you started to do that. I push that even further. Because that end moment, what did you say?
Just like you talked to me.
You know, you and Randy are going to be dismissed. She's a kind of freak, you guys are. But it's, Jen, it's this part at the end, of course, is that doesn't it get?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I know what I'm saying.
I know.
Yeah.
That's right. But I think to play behind it, the indirectness of it. That what she really wants to say, she's going to say it, and she's going to say it in prose. You strike my people, and your disordered rabble make servants of their betters. That's what I wanted to say from the very beginning. Did my father strike my gentleman for chiding his fool? That's the beginning of this moment, and that's the end. Yeah. So that's what you've been wanting to say the whole time. So you're holding it in, and you're holding it in. I'll try to make this clear to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that
I could be forgiven if I were so bold as to punish you, but then it's like, oh!
That's right. And it's because look what he's done. Look what he's just said to you. Darkness and devils, saddle my horses, degenerate bastard. The fact that he calls you a degenerate bastard, that's it. I've had it. You're the one, and boom, just explodes. area town. British, what town? Okay. But I think that she's got to work her way there. And you have to give her a lot of credit that she's trying to get this across to him the best she can. Now, she has dismissed 50 of his followers. It's already done.
Yeah.
So this is a plea that says,
Be reasonable.
yes, be reasonable. Get rid of at least half your train. That's right. And also that wonderful moment that you have where you say, we'll take the thing that she's asking for. You know what I'm
Oh, yes.
Where the hell is it?
I know what you're
Oh,
talking
here it is, just before darkness and devils, right.
Yes.
The shame itself does speak for instant remedy. Be then desired by her that else will take the thing she begs. Right. I'm going to take it anyway, but I'm trying to put a good front on this. That's right. That's right. And he explodes. All right. And then again, what happens next is these awful. But we start to see Lear's guilt about Cordelia a little bit now.
Yeah.
Oh, small fault. How ugly did selling Cordelia show? You know. And Albany's taking the high road here. I'm not guilty. I'm not part of any of this, he keeps saying. Right? And
Right.
he's starting to doubt.
It's, my feeling is that Albany doesn't really know the depths of Goneril yet. And he has walked into this brouhaha, and a couple of times he tells Lear, I don't know what is the matter.
Right.
And then at the end, after Lear leaves, and he's not immediately taking Goneril's side, he's kind of hedging a bit. You may do something too far. And then at the end he says, we'll just have to kind of wait and see.
Yeah, and it's interesting because now their relationship is starting to come forth.
You had said it earlier that the marriage has been recent.
Fairly recent,
maybe
yes.
a year, 2 years at the most.
Yeah, and it was probably
so you don't really know each other.
Political power type.
And we're starting to see why Lear favored you going all the way back to the first discussion with Gloucester and Kent. He liked you better.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because you are sort of innocent in this. This is a different Albany than is in the Porto.
Yeah.
This one is kind of, you feel, now I don't know, should he stand up to her completely?
Not quite yet, no.
Right. But he doesn't, right, that's right.
I think Albany is quite careful in his considerations. He wants to know everything that is going on. I mean, he enters, and Lear has a couple of lines before Lear says, are you going to say anything? And she, I don't know what to say. I'm ignorant of what is going on. I don't know.
Yes, and his behavior is not exactly angelic either. He's cursing her womb, for God's sake. So what you've walked into is some Jurassic Park. Randy and I once had an argument in front of Nick. A real argument. I mean,
ferocious.
Pulling his skin off. And he was right in the middle, and he got up to leave, and I said, sit down, you're not going anywhere. And he said, I said, what did you think of that? And he said,
So I felt like Jurassic Park. I felt like if they don't move, maybe they won't see me.
I do think that's what we need to create, that the two of them somehow are in something that you really, all you can do is sit in a questionable state.
Right.
Right?
And after Lear exits the first time, what's going on? Whereof comes this? And she tells him, don't let yourself know more of what's going on.
Right.
I'm in charge. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. Exactly. Because we're going to see a different relationship between Regan and Cornwall. So this is your relationship. All right? And also, I just want to point out, then I'll resume, thou shalt find that I'll resume the shape which thou dost think I have cast off forever. That's the threat. The threat is, the thing you warned Reagan about is he could take it back. And that, when he says that and leaves, that's when you turn to him to say, do you mark that? That's why I have to be ahead of this whole thing. That's a perfect example. Here's proof.
We're not necessarily safe.
That's exactly right. And that's why he says, I can't be so partial to the great love I bear you. You know, be content. And what I have to do is to get on with sending that letter to my sister. And now the fool, for the first time, the fool is left to make a decision. Uncle Lear, tarry, take the fool with thee. Because you should be in a castle. You should not be outside. You should not. This is new territory for you. And so here you are, with he's abandoned you. You want to stay back with this? I don't think so. So it really is filled with a kind of fear and going after Lear. Your life now is being turned into a turmoil. You know, and look at what you say about it. A fox, when one has caught her, and such a daughter, should sure to the slaughter if my cap would buy a halter. So the fool follows after. I'm getting out of here, which lets you know how terrifying you are. If you didn't know, if
it comes to her
naturally. Right. Okay. Okay. So I think that covers pretty much that end of it. Nick, just a little clarification. I will not sleep. Now, when Ken says, I will not sleep, my Lord, till I have delivered your letter, he runs off. You look at his feet. If a man's brains were in his heels, so it's connected to something, rather than sitting here and thinking, I have a clever question to ask. I think the more you can make connections that spur you on, the better. That's for everybody. Always look at the line before so that you can see what's spurring your response to it. And then, of course, this speech, this scene together. And I think that's where you can work on his wit. You cannot work on his heart. And the problem is Lear is going further and further into heartache. You can change his mind, but you can't help his heart. And that's a kind of desperation, I think, that we see in this. Here, I have a question. No. What about this? No, I did her wrong. I'll try this. Do you know, so I think that we're seeing that your purpose as the fool is diminishing somewhat, or it's finding itself a little helpless here because of where he's heading. This has been traumatic. This has been such a heart-aching situation. So that's how I think we want to. You want to take just a little bit of that so you can see how it. And you're waiting. You know, waiting is a wonderful action. I don't know if you've ever done action exercises, but to wait is to have your attention go from point to point to point. It's not to just sit idle. This isn't waiting. That's death. I mean, that's basically uninteresting. It doesn't belong on the stage. But what does belong on the stage is waiting. And I find my attention going from place to point to point. That's what waiting, and the both of you are waiting for those horses. Interesting.
Waiting for what? Those voices?
The horses. Yeah, waiting. Voices.
I know.
Yeah.
Voices? What do you know?
Okay, so can we just do a little bit? And we're getting to Act 2, guys.
Kibes?
From the top, right?
Go ye before to Gloucester with these letters. Acquaint my daughter no further with anything you know, and comes from her demand out of the letter. If your diligence be not speedy, I shall be there for you.
I will not sleep, my lord, till I have delivered your letter.
And guys, we start looking at the content too. I will not sleep, my lord. That long spelling. I'm not going to close my eyes till I have it. You know, I know one of the things that happens because in our contemporary world, words don't really have meaning. So we just say it. We just speak. You know, we're so used to subtext. But I think here, the idea of pointing out that I'm not going to sleep until, that's why that long spelling's on it. You know? That's a wonderful guarantee that you're giving him.
Right.
Okay?
If a man's brains were in his heels, we're not in danger of kibes.
I would.
And I pray thee be married. Thy wit shall not go slipshod.
And what are you saying? You know?
You're like, because your kibes are blisters, but you're not going to get blisters on your wit.
Why?
Because
you have no
you
brains.
have no wit, right?
Yeah, okay. So it makes you imply that.
Yeah.
You said, okay.
Then I pray thee be married. Thy wit shall not go slipshod. Shalt see thy other daughter.
Yeah. And the fact that he's not getting the joke, you think it's a joke, and he's mocking it, or however he responds to it. I mean, he's not responding, you know, like we're in a tavern enjoying a drink. It gives you a need to ask the next one. Whatever his ha is, provokes. Shall see that other dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So I shouldn't leave the space.
Yeah, lift him, right?
Shalt see thy other daughter will use thee kindly. For though she's as like this, as a crab's like an apple, that I can tell what I can tell.
And what canst tell, boy?
She will taste as like this, as a crab's to a crab.
And he changes quickly. You screwed it up because you thought, not you, but before, right? As a crab's like to an apple, yet I can tell what I can tell. What canst thou tell? Well, she'll taste just like, she'll taste as like this as a crab does to a crab.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay, now I have the colon, so I move on. Thou canst tell why, right? This is where the folio punctuation now starts to help work too.
She will taste as like this, as a crab's to a crab. Thou canst tell why one's nose stands in the middle of one's face?
No.
Why, to keep one's eyes of either side's nose, that what a man cannot smell out, he may spy into.
Yeah, and you can't help yourself. That's what that one's about.
Right.
Why? To keep one's eyes out of sight of his nose. But what a man cannot smell out, he can smell. I can't help telling the truth. And it may hurt, you know, it's not intentional, but it's just the fool answering the truth. Yeah. And now he's going to get emotional, right?
I did her wrong.
Canst tell how an oyster makes his shell?
No.
I neither. But I can tell why a snail has a house.
Why?
Why to put his head in, not to give it away to his
It
daughters.
just changed, Nick. Nor I neither. Back to, but I can tell why a snail makes it, you know, a snail has a house.
Oh, to the...
Yeah,
true.
that's right.
Yeah, okay.
And you see the semicolon drops you down.
I did her wrong.
Canst tell how an oyster makes his shell?
No.
Nor I neither. But I can tell why a snail has a house.
Why?
Why to put his head in, not to give it away to his daughters, and leave his horns without a case.
I will forget my nature. So kind a father. Now be my horses ready.
My asses are gone about him. The reason why the 7 stars are no more than 7 is a pretty reason.
Because they're not 8.
Yes, indeed. Thou wouldst make a good fool.
Take it again, perforce. Monster ingratitude.
If thou wert my fool, none
Take a minute. take a minute? Because that monster grabbed has that exclamation, you rarely see exclamation marks in a folio, so that is big.
Take it again, perforce. Monster ingratitude.
If that were my fool, uncle, I'd have thee beaten for being old before that time.
How's that?
Thou shouldst not have been old till thou hadst been wise.
Let me not be mad. Not mad, sweetheart. Keep me in temper. I would not be mad.
And he comes.
How now? Are the horses ready?
Ready, my lord.
Come, boy.
She that's a maid now and laughs at my departure shall not be a maid long unless things are cut shorter.
Okay, so you see the change through the course of that scene. I find it a very touching scene that the fool can't really help him, and that he's now heading into a place that of course, it's going to get worse because Reagan is going to just be as bad as Garland. Okay.
And we're only at the end of Act 1. And already, I think it's touching. And already he says, "Oh God, anything to that, please."
Yeah.
I don't want. Please don't let that happen to me. I mean, it's.
No, I was just going to say, like earlier in the scene, and I was wondering, is it condescension to Goneril, or is it like, is this a little, what's your name, gentlewoman? Is it already, does he already feel like something is amiss?
What I think it is that I think she's not the loving daughter that she was in the first scene. So who are you? Who are you? You know, I think there is a sense of you're not who I know. That rather than madness, I don't think it's there.
Yeah, but it's just. I was just saying that it could, a little hint towards things are really like just out of whack.
Right, I think that's right. I think that it's a little.
It's already starting.
Right, it's already starting. Not like mad, like I'm going, but like if I read this so wrong, if this is actually what happened, is this real? Is this what happened?
Right.
Who are you? I thought I knew you, right?
Yeah,
but
and I think it's kind of like Polonius, what is madness, but to be mad.
Right.
You know, so it's a matter of, my only point is that it's not, for me, it's not a line that suggests, who are you?
Right, he doesn't know who she is.
Sunset Boulevard.
Right.
But already the ground is being shaken.
It is shaken.
Yes, foundation.
And what I said earlier is the question becomes, what is it like to find yourself not being treated as a king anymore? I think that is where, if we want to talk about a madness or a sense of, I cannot believe what's happening in this world, and we label it the beginning of madness. Certainly going to lead there, we know that. But it's directly tied with the behavior that he's receiving, and now from someone. What I think is also sad is that Lear believed these women.
Right, it's really a tragedy that he's learning such a bitter lesson at the end of his life.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
That's right.
So it's I think it's all of that.
It just seems like it's a curious thread, right? Because he starts saying, who are you? You're not the daughter that said she loved me like no other person in the entire universe was I wrong.
And you notice she doesn't answer.
Right.
But the other thing too, he's asking the question, who am I?
Who am I?
Yes.
Who am I now in this world?
And then he's talking about her the whole way through the scene, a grateful child. How could she possibly behave like this?
Yes.
This can't be her. I mean, he's talking, he's not paying attention to him, as you pointed out. But he's thinking of her. So to me, there's like almost a direct line from "Who are you?" to "How could I be so wrong?" Oh my God, please don't let me go mad. Don't let me be so wrong that I'm actually not. And even earlier, Lear be about these gates,
Yeah. It's interesting. I ran a theater company for 33 years. And towards the end, I got really scared for myself because I realized I had outrun my life, and that at the end of it, when it was all over, everything that I neglected was going to catch up to me and run me into a wall from behind. All of the stuff I didn't pay attention to about people around me, about myself, understanding anything about who I was because I was so busy being what I had to be, you know? And there's this, and it happened, you know, it happened. Like, luckily, I could walk in the woods and deal with it there, and it didn't hurt anybody. But I think that there's this authenticity that he doesn't know how to deal with, right? The lies, the pretty talk, all of the formalities of the position, when they're stripped away, it's you, but who am I?
The very assumptions we make
Yes.
are called into question.
Called into question, exactly. It's harrowing, you know? And I find that Ken, right, there's that wonderful line when he's trying to get into his service, and he goes, "Dost thou know me, fellow?" And he goes, "No, sir." You know, which makes me wonder, back in the first act, when Lear starts behaving the way he's behaving, if he's never seen this before, right? And then he spends like 5 or 6 pages not saying jack shit, right, until he gets sent off with the letter, you know? So he's bearing witness to this.
Yeah.
You know? It's fascinating.
I'm not sure what, hold on.
All right, I'm sorry.
You guys,
I said
it's all lovely to listen to. I'm not sure where we're going with it. Well, how does it change the act? I got to get behind how to act it. Because yes, these thoughts will come up, and yes, there's stuff you will identify with your life. And he, you know, but one of the things that I just want to always know is, did you act that? Or is that something to act? The Kemp moment?
What about the no, sir, I don't know?
Yeah, I don't know you. Yeah.
The action was to not reveal myself.
Right.
And that was it for that moment. I think what you're saying is that there could be something a little, you know,
I just noticed
a little more there, but the action is, no, I don't know who you are. I've just seen you and you've got authority.
Or with a deeper meaning, no, I don't know.
I do see authority.
Well, it's the flood. It's know thyself. It's blindness. It's finding out new things. It's seeing for the first time.
I have to see the line. I'm sorry. It's so
Page
effort.
17 of them.
I'm not quite sure.
See what you started now, John?
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we were almost at Act 2.
Now we're never going to
Keep up, John.
You're welcome to drop it.
Okay. So this is right after
So
you
page
meet.
17, yeah, and sort of at the top in the middle. Who wouldst thou serve? You, dost thou know me, fellow? No, sir, but you have that in your countenance, which I would fain call master.
What's that?
Authority.
And so what we're saying is that no, sir, is fraught with something more than no, I don't know you.
Right, with more of like, similar to what the very first encounter with Kent and Gloucester is. I thought he was going to do this. What is going on with this guy? And the same kind of similar thing, I think, in terms of bearing witness, happens in that very first scene with all of the stuff with the daughters. He sits and watches and goes, what the hell is happening? Who is this king now giving all of this away? That's all sort of, that's not actionable.
Yeah.
He just changes looks, very much so.
But I do think it's actionable in so much as when he is upbraiding him, where is he upbraiding him from? You know what I mean? If I've never seen this before, what's going on, sir? You know? that's possible, rather than accusatory or whatever the anger might be. And you didn't do that, but I'm just saying.
Well, I get you, I did. But.
Yeah, but there's what's happening here, right? And sir, put that down. You know, don't. You know, you know what I'm saying? There's you don't.
No, keep going. I want to learn.
I don't know if I can get back to it that easily, but he's saying to Lear, or he's telling him, I'm loyal to you. I've been all of these things. I want to tell him.
He's not talking as Kent. He's talking as this stranger.
Well, I'm going back to the first scene.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not an upgrading.
Right.
Right?
Right, yeah.
That is as much as it is just what's wrong with you. I can't completely play that because then, but it might even make him angrier if he's being treated like that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess where I'm getting confused, one of the things that I get a little confused about is what's being said, what the words are saying, and
the question
and
is,
not.
Dost thou know me, fellow?
Well, but no, wait, because we just went back even further, right?
I went back
to the first scene.
No, I want to hear this, John, but I'm just trying to clarify where I'm coming from with looking at the script and that scene with Kent and Lear, that there is no subtext in Shakespeare. That when a character speaks, he means what he's saying in the moment he's saying it. If he's lying, we'll have a scene like Richard III and say, "Did you just see that? I was lying." So what I would say the starting point is the content of what you're saying, and take that quite literally. You see? And then whatever you get from that, the audience gets from it, John gets from it, whatever that wonderful world of philosophy or whatever is under it, it's there, but I don't want to move away from the content of what's being said. And I think it changes. I don't think it's one thing through those. He says too much for it to be one thing. And I think that when we get to the "Dost thou know me?" No. Yes, it's a bigger question, and the thing that keeps him from lying is that no, he doesn't know him because he knew him as king, and this Lear that he's dealing with now is not the Lear he knew. So it has credence to it. You're not lying. You're not saying, "No, I don't know who you are." But so it's filled. It is filled. But in the end, it's such a simple moment that I think what it needs to respond to is the impact that you want to have on him, which is the disguise is kept up. No, I don't know you.
But also, I think, going from, like what Phoebe always says, everything more has to be a reaction, right? It doesn't come out of the blue. Even if it's the first line you say on stage, it doesn't come out of the blue. It's a reaction to something that's happening somewhere, right? So my feeling always was is that Lear kind of looks at him and goes, "There's something about you. Thou know me, fellow." And he says, "No, sir, but I saw something about you that seemed like you had a thought." Like, immediately throw him off the trail. I think that,
again, you have to get up and rehearse it, possible. The only thing what I'm thinking is that you're saying, "Do I know you?" You're not saying, "Dost thou know me?" What you're playing is, do I know you?
Right.
And that's subtext.
Right. I see. Yeah.
So that's the only thing and again, all of it's possible to rehearse and see. But again, when we have 4 little words, it's pretty heavy duty to take those 4 little words and.
I like to be or not to be.
No, that goes
Okay, that's it. He's out now. That's off the pitch.
But at any rate, I understand where it's coming from, but I just want to make sure that our starting place is what you're saying and the life behind what you're saying, not the subtext of what I might mean by what I'm saying, even though I'm not saying it. It's written into Goneril. Goneril, what she's saying to Lear is her subtext. Her subtext is, I thought I could expect more from you. I thought She says it in her work. She puts her subtext out there in words. Then later on, she says, you've done this and you've done that. That's what she really wants to say. But he doesn't have her play it with something under it the way I play it that makes it sound opposite of what I'm playing. We know this from modern theater or modern plays. How many times have you seen something when somebody says, oh yes, I love you. Mm-hmm. The last thing I'm saying is I love you. That's modern. That's not Shakespeare. And if we do too much of it, it's why this starts to become long-winded. Because we're playing something under it and we're not playing the thing itself. That's my only caution. I mean, it's just years of working on this stuff. And what I'm always listening for when I go to see a play. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And I'm not even saying that there is a subtext there. What I'm saying is that in some ways he's playing the fool himself, a different kind of fool. Mm-hmm. You know, and being ironic. You know, while he's doing the thing that he's doing. So it doesn't go anywhere deeper than this sort of obviously I'm going to get away with what I'm trying to get away with here. Mm-hmm. You know, and still say some things I want to say.
Okay. Oh, guys, exhaust me.
Wait a minute.
Act 2. Nothing's stopping us. I mean, listen, we could go on, but we won't. With that one. But we have enough, and we do have enough of where we've headed, right?
Yeah.
Where we started with a king who's expecting certain behavior. He's banished the daughter who was truthful. He's by banishing Cordelia, he's banished truth. And that's why the fool wants to learn how to lie, because the only place in this court is for people who lie. And Lear now is experiencing what it is like to have given up what he gave up, which again, he's the one who caused, this is the other thing I want to say, it's the tragedy of Lear. It's not Goneril's tragedy, it's not Kent's tragedy, it's the tragedy of Lear. So anything that has happened, he has brought it on himself. He's the perpetrator of the tragedy. How they react, we have an election coming. That's all I'll say about that. No, I'm not getting political, but that's how important voting is. It brings consequences. And that's what his choices have done. They've brought consequences. He's helped create Goneril into who Goneril will become. All right? Okay. Was that blue? Yeah, okay. Never mind. Sorry. Okay, Act 3. Oh, Act 3. All right. Act 2. Okay, John, could you do Curran?
Oh, okay. To get into a different brain here.
Nick, you're going to keep the bastard? Sure. And Edgar we have, and Gloucester we have.
Reagan.
And Reagan. Okay. Oh, and Larry will do Cornwall.
Mm-hmm. Save thee, Curran.
And you, sir. I've been with your father and have given him notice that the Duke of Cornwall and Reagan, his Duchess, will be here with him this night.
How comes that?
Nay, I know not. You have heard of the news abroad? I mean, the whispered ones, for they are yet but ear-kissing arguments.
Not I. Pray you, what are they?
Have you heard of no likely wars twixt the Dukes of Cornwall and Albany?
Not a word.
You may do that in time.
Okay.
Fare you well, sir.
You may do that in time, yeah. This is so important. Tiny little scene, but so important. It's the first seed that's planted about the relationship of the idea of this war that might be brewing. It's mentioned, and now we move on. To your benefit. Okay?
Well, the other important piece of news is that Cornwall and Regan are coming to Gloucester.
Yeah, definitely. That's right.
And in fact, this whole scene takes place at Gloucester's castle.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Duke be here tonight. Better best. This weaves itself perforce into my business. My father had set guard to take my brother, and I have one thing of a queasy question which I must add. Briefness and fortune one. Brother! A word. Brother, I say. My father watches. Oh, sir, fly this place. Intelligence is given where you are hid. You have now the good advantage of the night. Have you not spoken against the Duke of Cornwall? He's coming hither, now, in the night, in the haste, and Regan with him. Have you nothing said upon his party against the Duke of Albany? Advise yourself.
I'm sure not a word.
I hear my father coming. Pardon me. In cunning, I must draw my sword upon you. Draw! Seem to defend yourself. Now, quit you well. Yield! Come before my father. Light! Ho! Here! Fly, brother! Torches! Torches! So farewell. Some blood drawn on me. We get opinion of my more fierce endeavor. I've seen drunkards do more than this in sport. Father! Father! Stop! Stop! No help!
Now, Edmund, where's the film?
Oh, we're going to do it one more time. Calm down.
I'm so excited.
Calm down. I'm not hearing what you're saying. And we need to make those transitions when you're dealing with him. Interesting thing I want to just point out is that the bastard early on has told us that he's a lot more on top of things than Edgar. Fox that are come out of marriages that are
Legal.
obligated. Yeah. So I think what's kind of wonderful is, because I've always seen productions where Edgar is made to look as dashing as Edmund. I think Edmund should look a little more dashing, and I think that there's a naivete in Edgar that has to, even when he says draw, that moment where you say, I must draw my sword upon you. Draw. Seems that you have to make this right. Do it. But he's not prone to fighting. He was not in that first scene. He is not a knight in Lear's train. He is Edgar. And so it's your opportunity to show us now who this innocent son is. The only thing he has going for him is legitimacy. Right. And then later on we're going to find that he's also a really wonderful guy. Nice guy. He's also, we'll find out that he's a good fighter, because who wins in Act 5? Edgar does. Which is why one of the questions about this little moment is, are you going to cut yourself from the top? Is that you've already decided you're going to cut yourself?
So I don't have to fight?
Or are you what are you expecting out of this fight? Just a commotion of whatever it is. You have to figure out what it is you're expecting, and then you decide that you're going to cut yourself to show some kind of evidence that he did you harm, right? Okay, let's do it one more time and allow yourself time to get to know it rather than be it.
Brother, a word?
No, the Duke here tonight. Because this is important.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Duke be here tonight. The better best. This weaves itself perforce into my business. My father had set guard to take my brother, and I have one thing of a queasy question which I must act. Briefness and fortune work. Brother, a word, descend. Brother, I say, my father watches. Oh, sir, fly this place. Intelligence is given where you are hid. You have now the good advantage of the night. Have you not spoken against the Duke of Cornwall? He is coming hither, now in the night, in the haste, and Regan with him. Have you nothing said upon his party against the Duke of Albany? Advise yourself.
I'm sure not a word.
I hear my father coming. Pardon me. In cunning, I must draw my sword upon you. Draw! Seem to defend yourself. Now quit you well. Yield! Come before my father. Let ho! Here! Fly, brother. Torches! Torches! So farewell. Some blood drawn on me.
Listen to the audience now.
Some blood drawn on me would beget opinion of my more fierce endeavor. I've seen drunkards do more than this in sport. Father!
And there's nothing innocent about it. I'm going to cut myself, and the audience goes, oh, and he says, oh, come on. Relax. I've seen drunkards do this. No problem for me. I'm Edmund.
Some blood drawn on me would beget opinion of my more fierce endeavor. I've seen drunkards do more than this in sport. Father! Father! Stop! Stop! No, help!
Now, Edmund, where's the villain?
Here stood he in the dark, his sharp sword out, mumbling of wicked charms, conjuring the moon to stand auspicious mysteries.
But where is he?
Look, sir, I believe...
Where is the villain, Edmund?
Fled this way, sir, when by no means he could...
Pursued him! Go after him! By no means what?
Persuade me to the murder of your lordship. But that I told him the revenging gods against the parasites in all the thunder bend, spoke with how manifold and strong a bond the child was bound to the father. Sir, in fine, seeing how loathly opposite I stood to his unnatural purpose, I fell in motion. In fell motion with his prepared sword. He charges home, my unprovided body, latched mine arm. And when he saw my best alarmed spirits, bold in the quarrel's right, roused to the encounter, or whether gasted by the noise I made, full suddenly he fled.
Let him fly far. Not in this land shall he remain uncaught and found. Dispatch! The Duke, my master, my worthy arch and patron, comes tonight. By his authority I will proclaim it that he which finds him shall deserve our thanks, bringing the murderous coward to the stake. He that conceals him, death.
When I dissuaded him from his intent, and found him plight to do it, with cursed speech I threatened to discover him. He replied, thou unpossessing bastard, dost thou think, if I would stand against thee, with the reposal of any trust, virtue, or worth in thee, make thy words faith? No. What should I deny? As this I would, though thou didst produce my very character. I turn it all to thy suggestion, plot, and damned practice. And thou must make a dullard of the world, if they thought the profits of my death were very pregnant and potential spirits to make thee seek it.
O strange and fascinating villain, would he deny his letter sent him? Hark the Duke's trumpets. I know not where he comes. All ports I'll bar. The villain shall not escape. The Duke must grant me that. Besides, his picture I will send far and near, that all the kingdom may have due note of him, and of my land, royal and natural boy. Our work the means to make thee capable.
Hold on a second, so I want to point out a couple of things that happened. Obviously, look, your concern about his wound takes.
That's right.
Where's the villain? Let's get to the point. What I want here, he can be bleeding on the floor. It doesn't matter at this point, right? And then the problem becomes if Edgar is caught and Edgar exposes you, who do you think's going to believe you? Right. And so when we find out that nothing is going to stop you from finding Edgar and bringing him back, you need to come up with a way to cover anything that he says that may accuse you. And that's why that speech that you have down there is the second. And look at how it works. He that conceals him death. He that conceals him death. You have 4 beats in there, which means you have time to think your next move. And your next move is, when I dissuaded him from his intent. And now you're going to go on to say, he said, who do you think is going to believe you? And that he's going to turn it all to you. You find the thing that's necessary if they catch Edgar and bring him back. That's what that speech is filled with. And it's on the moment. It wasn't planned at all. So the same thing here, that description that you have earlier about persuade me to the murder of your lordship, that's chilling. He was going to kill you. Okay, maybe that gets your attention, the details of that. But again, we need that second speech for him to finally say, okay, oh, strange and fascinating villain. Would he deny the letter? Now that's it. I'm done, we're going to get him, and he will not ever escape or win. You covered all corners with this. He attacked you, he threatened you with death, and he even planned how he would get away with it if he's caught. You're terrific, and you're quite right. Edmund is brilliant. Now, if that were good, used for good, but it's not, But he is brilliant. Doesn't take away just how brilliant you are, and so we need that in there. You did slow down, Nick. It's 100 times better when you slow down. When you did that the brother word descent. Here's the other thing. It takes time for the audience to hear what we're saying. We think going fast is natural. It's not helpful. And it's not natural. These words are not, it's not New York calling for a taxi. Fuck, get the taxi. That's not the way this works. The way this works is I use words because words have life. And my words can change your mind and your behavior. So I need to be able to have the time to say the words, not slow them down to a stop. I'm not talking about that. But I am talking about using them to make a point. But I tell you, the audience needs the time for the word to come out of your mouth and reach their ears. I don't know why we think that by going fast they're going to get it. It's going to mean something more to them. It's simply not. They're just going to sit in confusion. If you're going to say these words, they need to hear it. And you did it. And that's what I want to just encourage you to do more of that. I used to say to my acting students, you're going to have so little stage time. Why are you going to rush through? Why are you trying to get off the stage as fast as you can? You have that time. And when you do it, you're wonderful. So, okay.
That's what Phoebe always used to tell me. Great. Slow down.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody's crazy. Okay. And good, Thomas, good. Again, just sheer confusion. We haven't met Edgar yet. We've only had these brief little moments of Edgar, and we're about to meet him because he's going to talk to us in the audience.
Right.
But you can see where you need to make those changes, and then when you talk to the audience, you have us in your pocket, and you want us to stay there with you.
One question I have is, is there, and it's probably not even that important, it's not important, but to the whole play, but in the first scene with the bastard, right, he's like, give me the letter, show me the letter, where's the letter, give it to me, right?
Yeah.
And then he says, here, but where is it? Where is it? Where's the villain? Like, show me where, so what is it trying to say about Gloucester in that? What is the writing telling us?
In terms of...
Is he like an impatient man? I mean, is this a part of his character, this impatience? It happens twice in 2 scenes in a row, so I'm curious.
Well, I think he is impatient. I think that one of the reasons, look, this is a man who was screwing around with another, he was passionate with a woman. This is a guy who acts emotionally. He's not a great thinker, right. Gloucester. And so I do think that to show that side of him that is impatient is part of the blindness.
Impulsive.
Like that's right.
Yeah.
And however, when he's faced with the rules, he's a follower of the rules. We're going to see that now with his behavior with Cornwall, and even with Lear, when he's going to beg him to be patient. I want everything to be well, all of that. But when it comes to him personally, there's this other side of him that I think impulsiveness is a great word for it. Just kind of, come on.
I love the way you keep saying this blindness. I mean, that's perfect, right? That's a perfect backbone. There is a blindness to him until he's blind.
That's exactly what he sees.
Yeah.
And then he'll see.
Yeah. But impulsiveness can go for ill, but it can also go for good. Because later he's going to try to help Lear in the storm and risk his own life.
Right. And that's impulsive.
Yeah, that's an impulsive move on his part too, to help his old friend. Yeah.
Right. And it also is a measure of, one of the things I wanted to do, we didn't have the time to do it, but I wanted to take each one of you, Randy and I used to do this when we were actually, before we started APT, is that we had every actor take their character and just read their lines through to see what in Titus Andronicus, I'll give you an example, the character of Lucius. In the play, Aaron the Moor decides to call him out on being religious. And one wonders, well, how does he know that he's religious? Well, when you look at Lucius' lines, almost every line has God in it, has an oath to God in it, and you think, okay, Aaron was watching, because Aaron's learned who Lucius is. Now, when the lines are separated through the play, sometimes you don't see them, but you will see how an act. Morris used to talk about this all the time. He used to, I think, with Shylock, with the Antonio speech about you used to spit on my gabardine. Morris says he says spit 3 times. He mentions that. It's important that you understand that a character uses certain expressions or words, and that will give you an idea of what that character is about. And so I think if you take your character and just look at how you speak throughout, you'll also see the journey that you're on. How much is Gloucester willing to take of this? Even if he has feelings that it's wrong with Cornwall, because he says the fiery Duke, if he feels that's wrong, how much of that will he take till he finally says, no more, I've got to do something. Albany will have that same, at what point is too much and I'll have to change. So your character goes on a journey as well. And then, of course, the blinding comes, and that's the end of that journey. I mean, it'll take you to the final way. Okay, so let's, so I think we have, the big thing that we walk away from this is that you've set up a kind of fail-proof thought here, but the final line of Gloucester's, I'll work the means to make thee capable, the Lamb. You're not there yet. Why? Because as a bastard, you really don't have a right to that land. So maybe Cornwall can turn things for you. We'll see. But right now, he's saying, I'll work to make thee. He's not saying you'll inherit my land. I'm going to work the means to make thee capable of getting it. So you're halfway there. Not quite. You still got work to do, right? Cornwall, bring him in.
How now, my noble friend? Since I came hither, which I can call but now, I have heard strangeness.
If it be true, all vengeance comes too short, which can pursue the offender. How dost, my lord?
Oh, madam, my old heart is cracked. It is cracked.
What? Did my father's godson seek your life? He whom my father named, your Edgar.
Oh, lady, shame would have it been.
Was he not companion with the riotous knights that tended upon my father?
I know not, madam. 'Tis too bad, too bad.
Yes, madam, he was of that consort.
No marvel then, though he were ill affected. 'Tis they have put him on the old man's death, to have the expense and waste of his revenues. I have this present evening from my sister been well informed of them, and with such cautions that if they come to sojourn at my house, I'll not be there.
Nor I, assuredly, Regan. Edmund, I hear that you have shown your father a childlike office.
It was my duty, sir.
He did bewray his practice and received his hurt, you see, striving to apprehend him.
Is he pursued?
I am, my good lord.
If he be taken, he shall never more be feared of doing harm. Make your own purpose, how in my strength you please. For you, Edmund, whose virtue and obedience doth this instant so much commend itself, you shall be ours. Natures of such deep trust we shall much need. You we first seize on.
I shall serve you, sir, truly. However else.
For him I thank your grace.
You know not why we came to visit you?
Thus, out of season, threading dark-eyed night, occasions noble Gloucester of some prize, wherein we must have use of your advice. Our father he hath writ, so hath our sister of differences. which I best thought it fit to answer from our home. The several messengers from hence attend dispatch. Our good old friend, lay comforts to your bosom, and bestow your needful counsel to our businesses, which craves the instant use.
I serve you, madam. Your graces are right welcome.
Okay, so just a few things that I want to point out here. You know, Larry, how you feel about this, but how now, my noble friend, since I came hither, which I can now, I wonder if you're not making a little joke. It's a little friendly visit, a little, you know, I mean, what else can you be doing by correcting, you know what I mean? How now, my noble friend, since I came hither, which I can call but now, I mean.
It's odd. I mean, I can't think of another instance where Cornwall says something like that. You know, it's like he's amending himself, and he doesn't get any reaction from it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, again, I pointed out because it's in parentheses, and it just seems like an odd thing to go back on when rather than just since I came here that I've heard strangeness would be the direct route, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me because Reagan comes right in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he's like maybe trying to like suss out his mood and like see like will he joke with me right now?
Say it again.
Do you think he's trying to like see what mood he's in, like how serious this is?
Yeah. I mean, I think they've heard something obviously. Outside what?
About Edgar.
Yeah. But I think that what I want to start to look at is who is Cornwall. We've taken a look at Albany, but who is Cornwall now?
Right.
Because he has another interesting moment in this, and that's when Reagan says, I thought it best to answer from our home. I won't be there, she says. And he says, and I won't be either.
Right.
So who's in charge?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that you want to get in and have your say
Right.
as well? And I think you take over when it comes to the bastard, certainly, of, I like him. We have similar natures,
Right.
you know. But to just watch how he develops through the course of this.
It's almost, since this is really the first time you get to hear Cornwall speak at any length, I kind of get the feeling that he is unaccustomed to dealing in a political, courtly manner. And maybe that's why he has that thing in parentheses, you know, since we came hither, I've never been here before, which I can call, but now, no reaction, you know, we've heard strangeness. And the same thing when she kind of takes over and he feels it's like his duty to say something, but all he can say is, well, I'm not going to be there either.
Yeah, I think that I just don't think he's that bright, to tell you the truth. It's just my, maybe it's unfair of me to put that on you.
Yes.
I don't care, you're Lear, you gave up your
He's more action oriented. When presented with a problem,
yes, what I mean, and I mean
action.
lyric. I don't mean that he's an idiot. All I mean is that there's something about him that's and Gloucester's going to talk about him being fiery, the fiery Duke. That he kind of jumps off, you know, that he for me, it seems like he's not a thinker. That he doesn't weigh things out. Albany weighs things out. I don't know if you're doing the right thing, he says to Goneril. But that's not
Cornwall acts first.
Yeah. Yes, I think so. I think let's just go on that path of looking at who he may develop into.
Okay.
He's terrifying. He will
should be.
become terrifying.
And you see that, as, I mean, not only blinding Gloucester, but the second eye. Come on, you piece of jelly.
Yeah.
Well, stalking Kent.
Yeah,
Stalking Lear's messenger.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
So,
And so again, Reagan comes right in. I've heard strangeness. She comes right in. If it be true, all vengeance comes too short, which can pursue the offender. Okay, so she's just going. They haven't even heard the details of any of it,
Right.
but they're ready to act. And then this wonderful moment, 2 moments. Oh, lady, shame would have it hid. Remember in that first scene when you talked about, I've blushed so often at this, you carry a sense of embarrassment when things are not according to law, there's a sense of being ashamed that you carry. It's the second time now we're hearing you say, shame would have it hid, that he's my son. I was ashamed for so long that he's my son. Now I'm ashamed that he's my son. So this wanting of your sons to be perfect, better, whatever. I mean, you even brag about Edgar early on. I do have a legitimate son, you say. So status means something to Gloucester, and being embarrassed by the behavior of his sons means something too. I think, again, I just want to... These are tiny little moments, but I think they're so important when you see them happen more than once, yeah? Okay. And obviously you've come to your conclusion, no marvel then, though we were ill-affected. And it's not, Gloucester says he doesn't know if Edgar isn't one of the knights. I know not. It's too bad, too bad. And who comes in? Yes, exactly. Yes, he was.
He was.
I've been out 9 years, but I happen to know.
He's crazy.
That's right. And of course, you use every opportunity that you can, because you are not leaving this play, you think, until you have that land. All right? Okay. And she just jumps right on board with that. Well, of course, those are the people who acted against my father for his money, for his revenues, for his possessions. And now you're filling him in. This present evening, I've heard from my sister. I've been well informed of those nights that he's talking about. And I'm not going to be home, nor I assure we've gotten there. Okay. It was my duty. You're playing it for all it's worth, right? Okay. And now all of a sudden the hurt means something, doesn't it? He got this wound because of that. Oh, where was that when he first got the wound? It's changed a little bit, hasn't it? Right. Okay. And now we understand. Now we're being asked why. I mean, you've taken a shine to the bastard. Mm-hmm. A camaraderie will happen here, and you will get what you need if you stay with Cornwall, because Cornwall has power over Gloucester. Mm-hmm. All right? And now we have to understand why you guys came here in the first place. And obviously, this is what we said earlier, Reagan escapes. I'm not going to deal with, I'm not going to be at home. But she also suggests that the Knights might be a threat, and that's a reason to not be home as well. Okay? And they're asking Gloucester for his help. Pretty much everything? Anything that I didn't add? But we know that they're welcome. Right? Okay. Can we... What time is it? Oh,
5 after 4.
Yeah. We're done. Okay.
Oh,
I don't know how time works.
Can I throw in one more thing? I've been, the word nature is said by practically everybody.
Yeah.
Lear, Edmund, down nature, my daughter, nature is sexuality. Here nature is the force that protects kings. The King of France talks about a tardiness in nature, meaning, Gloucester talks about the wisdom of nature, by which he means astrology. He calls Edmund a royal and natural boy, with natural having a double meaning. The natural son is the bastard, but he's also the natural. And a gentleman called sleep, the foster nurse of nature. So that word just gets a workout in this play, and it characterizes what you think of nature is what you're about. Your definition of nature is what you are about.
Wait, say what?
the way the character defines nature tells you who that character
Yes.
is.
I think they do, and I think one of the things that becomes, certainly for me, difficult is to understand when that word is being used as something that is good, and when it's being used as something that may not be. I mean, the idea of the birth of Edmund, let's say.
It's personal. What I think is nature and natural
Yes.
is not what you think, you know.
Yeah. And I think, too, the moment early on in the play when Lear talks about even Cordelia being unnatural, that there's a sense of how one should behave as a daughter, you know, whoever you are in life. But it's throughout the whole play, and every time it comes up, I find that I question what is that moment about. But I think that I can't remember how many times it's used, but everybody uses it at one point or another, right?
There's another word that's used quite frequently in the play, and that's heart.
Ooh.
The word heart appears quite frequently in this play, as it does in Romeo and Juliet, oddly enough, but in this, almost an equal amount of time that it's used. So
The other group of words that come up all the time are never,
the negatives.
nothing, no. I mean, there's that
Not.
that drives through the whole play too.
I was going to ask you about nothing, because there are a couple of times the fool says it once, Kent says it once, but he says no thing. In the folio, it's no hyphen thing. For those two a couple of
Well,
times.
sometimes the hyphen is
nothing.
because there wasn't enough room on the page.
Well, that was my question, is it as it's written
Yeah,
here?
I'll take a look at it. But sometimes you'll find, I found that happens because the column that would have been in folio. But when it's lifted up for these text, they leave those little dashes.
Thank you, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
See ya. Safe travel.
Thank you, Larry, I'll talk to you.
Okay.
And thank you to our visitors today.
I'd like to thank all of you. This was wonderful. No.
I hope you have something to pass on to your grandson.
Well, I don't think he's reading King Lear, but when I saw it on the schedule, I went, brush up a little. I'm so glad I came. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We got that too.
I know.